Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 440. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
What's up, people? How's it going?
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
Yo.
Adam Typing.
How you doing?
And Brett, joined by the Crickets.
We're actually seeing Manny through our mind's eye right now.
Yes. All right, people. Yo, by the way, so you guys are already going in the comments, man. This is crazy. By the way, okay, so if we have time for it, we'll talk about some Final Fantasy. My original plan for this episode, the main thing I wanted to talk about was Final Fantasy 16 and some of the controversy happening with the whole 30 frames, 60 frames.
But we can't have nice things, can we, Tony?
But we can't because this fucking FTC versus Microsoft thing happened today.
I told you.
Yeah, so
I told you.
I knew this was coming.
Yeah, so Adam, have you
spit the hot fire?
Have you been keeping track of? Is that not over yet? By the way, Adam, this is day one.
Of course. No. I know this is the week, though. This is what I'm saying. We were going to hear. This is the week. Going into it, it was starting, and this is what we were doing. But the big shocking part.
What now? The week where they what?
Everybody's talking at the same time. Adam, you go first, and then Brett, and then Carlos.
The week for the court case to start that got rushed because once FTC found out rumor, because this is what that triggered them to call for the injunction, is that they found out that Microsoft was going to close last Friday, and they want to stop it. And so then that's when they actually said, no, we need to do this in front of a judge now. Because before there was no date and they could have prolonged past the close date and caused all these financial problems for Microsoft. But when they heard this, they're like, oh, no, we got to get this bumped up. So now here it is. This is the week. We found out what they were going for. We found out all the information that Microsoft was using to go against it. But the crazy part is that Jim Ryan, right, who said he was going to be there, then changed it and said he wasn't going to be there. He was going to be there by video. And then it turns out that it wasn't even going to be by video live. It was just going to be pre-taped. So it's weird that he started all this, but we figured out why that was the case. And the reason why is because on the Microsoft side, they got a hold of an email that he sent out 2 days after he found out about the merger between Activision and Microsoft, and he sent an email that he spoke to Phil and Bobby Kotick, and that they reassured him and he felt confident that Call of Duty was still going to be on PlayStation and that he didn't see an issue with that. And that's his own words. And that was right? 2 days, Jim Ryan's own words in this email that he had sent out. Don't know how
real quick. By the way, because Adam, we haven't talked all day. This is great because none of the other guys on the panel saw this ruling. I'm glad you did. This is fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
So Adam has investment in
this is. I love it. Thank you, Adam. So for right now, Adam, you take over. This is your show right now.
Real quick, I want to throw in there. I had seen this email. I didn't know that they had actually introduced it in the court case.
That was the part that no one knew, because apparently before this they were trying to block it, and there was rumors going around that Microsoft had something they were going to drop this bombshell. It's like, oh well, what's a bombshell? What could they possibly have? And I think it's Sony's argument was the way they obtained the email. It was questionable. Not sure. How do you get something like that? How does anything get leaked out? There's always somebody who's disgruntled or some shit. Say, hey, you're going to give me a job? What do you got? I got this. Forward. Beep. And anyway, that was a big deal right there, because it just disputes the whole argument that Jim Ryan said was like, because remember, shortly after, he's popping up all over the world arguing, no, this is Call of Duty. They're going to ruin it. Well, this is you 2 days after you found out. You spoke to the two guys. Clearly, you had no issue. So what changed? It must have been what happened with Sony Japan. They probably heard, once they saw this, they're like, oh, what do you mean? This is a huge issue. And they probably put his feet to the fire. If you don't try to stop this shit, you're out. So that was the big argument there. And of course, all the other news started coming out with it that the Sony was saying on that end that Starfield was going to be on PlayStation. So was Redfall. And then on the Microsoft side, they were like, well, listen, we have plenty of ideas. So you're going to claim every idea that ever comes out? It's like, usually this is how it works. Now, if the IP was already established, then that will continue. And that's what happened. What they said with Call of Duty, they said example was with Minecraft and stuff like those were established, Fallout 76, and they will continue. We are not taking something away. These things were never actually produced. So you can argue now that we're taking away something, but it never came out. So it doesn't make any sense for that. That's the argument. Because if that's the case, every idea could always be questioned, right? Let's say every new IP that comes out from Bethesda, then somebody can say, well, I heard they were going to make that for PlayStation. Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah,
so
let me read this real quick because I want to read what Kodak said here. So yeah, and I'm going off the verge. So what I'm gonna do, Adam, is like I'm gonna take some of their talking points and just
go ahead.
Yeah. This is fucking great. I'm glad. Anyway, so this is what Jim Ryan said. It is not an exclusivity play at all. Talking about active, So he goes, they're thinking bigger than that, and they have the cash to make moves like this. I've spent a fair amount of time with Phil Spencer, Bobby Kotick, and I'm pretty sure we will continue to see Call of Duty on PlayStation for years to come. And he also went on to say, we have some stuff cooking. I'm not complacent. I'd rather this didn't happen, but we'll be okay. We'll be more than okay.
See?
Yeah.
And that was what you see the date. That's the big part is the date. And that was after they found out about the deal. It was happening. He was cool with it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this whole thing.
And that's counter to what he has been saying.
Exactly. That's the point.
Jimbo, what you up to, man?
That's what I'm saying. So they're like, what? Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, Adam. We hear raging crickets on your end. Just, I don't know if it
raging crickets.
Yeah,
they're just going nuts.
Yeah, they're not Brett crickets. They're Adam crickets.
They're
crickets here.
They're Brett crickets on steroids. But yeah,
I don't even hear crickets here.
That's not crickets. That's his microphone.
Oh.
Adam, talk again.
Hello?
That's the microphone. That's not crickets.
Oh my God, it's his microphone.
Hold on.
Microphone is a cricket.
Wait.
You thought it was crickets the whole time.
Let me change the game. Let me see. Hello, testing.
Still doing it a little bit.
Testing.
Yeah, I hear it.
Yeah, we hear it. Yeah, we all hear it.
I don't know, man. Because that's the one thing I was messing with. I was messing with the game.
Can't explain that.
But
why does it sound like crickets though? Like,
Adam has crickets in his microphone.
That's so weird. That sound. Wait, say that again, Adam.
What, like the sound effect, the cricket sound effect?
No, when you're talking, it sounds like crickets are in the background.
It's just whatever distortion's happening sounds like crickets.
Yeah.
Understand?
It's not actual.
It's not actual crickets. It's just
weird.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. All I did was.
It sounds like you speak with the voice of 1,000 crickets.
I think you're good now. Hold on.
Say that again?
Go on.
Hello.
Talk about Jimbo.
I'm messing. I'm lowering.
You're good.
You're good. Whatever you just said.
Yeah, I lowered
Don't
the game.
mess it up anymore, man.
No. All right, that was it. Because remember, for the I Am Negan, we were messing with because for some reason OBS the sound just dropped off after an update. My recording came in low, so I kept messing with it. Anyway, so
okay, yo, this reminds me of the Warzone days where Hip Hop Gamer always having issues with his mic and shit. Yo, can you hear me now? No, why this fucking up?
Dude, I think everybody in the room for like 2 minutes was like, yo, bro, am I the only one hearing crickets?
I thought it was Brett. That's the sound effect.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm
all right. So Adam, anyway,
I'm like, so after right now.
Yeah. So basically, the email kind of contradicts what he's been saying publicly.
It contradicts, right? And then the FTC was like, well, what about these exclusive games that you took away? And they were like, well, we didn't take it away because they never existed. There were ideas. There's plenty of games that we're working on that could go on other platforms. But you know what? This was actually a plus to make this exclusive, which this came out as like a practice speech, clearly the way it was delivered. But it made its point, and it's a no-brainer. It meant less work for them. It's a very big game. It's very ambitious. And whenever you make something that's big and ambitious and you port it over, it takes a lot of time. And they said it would have taken a lot more time to then port it over to the PlayStation and Xbox and PC, as opposed to they're already making it on PC. It's an easy architecture for the Xbox, blah, blah, blah. So basically they're saying that this is actually better for gamers and for the game itself, that they don't have to do the port, because it's not like a porting machine. Like he was like, I don't know if the FTC is aware of this. It's not like, oh, all right, we're going to put this, we made this one game, we dump it into this emulator and it just spits it out on every platform under the sun. That's not how it works. It takes time. And he said that we would not have the release date if we had to do it for PlayStation as well as the Xbox.
Oh, with Starfield, right?
Yeah, with Starfield. Yeah. This was one of the heads of Bethesda. He brought it up. Right, when he was questioned about this, like, hey, you had this exclusive and you took it away. This is because that was the FTC's argument. Case in point that they said is why Microsoft shouldn't purchase it, because they take games away. They take games away, and then they were just explaining these were ideas in development. They were not actually produced yet. It's one thing if the game is already on a disc, ready to go, and it's like, no, hold off. That's not happening. That wasn't the case. Then we found out, they were like, hey, you got any other games that are like that? They're like, yeah, we do have one that I've been talking about, but nobody else has been talking about until today, and that's Indiana Jones. Because remember, Machine that went quiet that they were making this game. We saw a little teaser and then was gone. Well, we found out that's going to be exclusive, but also for PC. And apparently there was some other discussion. Somehow I didn't really get to look it up, but
we'll go through it. I want to
Disney. Somebody from Disney saying that they thought it was going to be on everything. That was the deal.
Oh yeah, the Indiana Jones game, right?
Yeah, the Indiana Jones.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. I want to read you another quote here from a Microsoft executive. Today showed Sony has known all along will stand by our promise to keep games on its platform. It made clear its work to lobby against the deal is only to protect its dominant position in the market. Yeah, I mean that's what it sounds like. Basically, Sony knew this was going on, but they still went out to say, "Oh, they're going to take games away to like scare people." It seems like that's interesting.
Yeah, and then after that was said, then the attorneys were like, well, this just shows that FTC is not really protecting the consumer, because we're offering multi-year, they use decades because it sounds better, decade deals to all the other providers. Their real concern is Sony. So they're not looking out for the consumer. They're looking out for this one company. And that just doesn't make any sense here to block what they call a lateral merger, because they're not buying one of the big boys. It's not like buying Nintendo or Sony. They're buying a software company, and Microsoft technically is a software company. They're like, this is it. It's a lateral thing. We're both agreeing on this. They talked about the unions all supporting it, the companies, the employees on the other end, and the opportunities to navigate around and all that stuff. They talked about all the pluses, not just for the executives who are going to make a lot of money. That's a no-brainer. But all the people, the smaller people, the guys that are the programmers and the artists and all the other people that are there, and how this can help them, and that they're all for it. So it makes things really complicated. And then once you see this email, it's hard to put that aside, because it's like, he knew about it, he was cool with it, and now he's not. And why is that? And then it points the finger at the judge looking at FTC. It's like, well, why are you here? Then, because you're supposed to be for the people, like, this is bad for people. It doesn't seem that way if they're offering all these deals, but we got a few more days to go. It's supposed to end up, I think they said the 26th or the 29th, we get the final ruling, right? So they're going to spew out a few more back and forths, and then we'll see what happens. But, man, that was a big win right there for Microsoft with that email.
Yeah, that's crazy. Another thing here, Microsoft didn't want its games on GeForce Now initially. No effing way. That's another email that went around. You have any thoughts on that?
Well, this is something we talked about too. Like when we first found out that they were buying Activision, when they were doing that, then they said, "Oh, what was it they were offering Sony, like 3-year deal or something like that?" It's a minor thing, and then all of a sudden, all these deals started coming out, and I think this was the ditch effort from their legal team. Was like, "Listen, if we stick to this, we're gonna lose, because it's gonna make it look like we're just like hoarding all these games. We have to open the door." And so I always figured that was the ditch effort. So if there's any good that came out of Sony bitching about all this, is the fact that we're seeing these decade-long deals for games to release, not just the Activision, but all games. all Microsoft first-party games, talking about putting them on Switch and putting them on Nvidia and all that stuff. So I think they changed their tune on it because of what's happening here. I agree. I don't think that was ever the plan. I don't think that was the plan because they had no reason to. There was no enforcing them to do that. And then once this happened, they're like, all right, well, if we do it, can we make money from it? I was like, yeah, you just charge them full price. So yeah, those games will be on there. It's not going to be via Game Pass. You're going to have to pay the full $70 price for those games. But they make money either way. And I think that's the bottom line. It's like, all right, well, we can still make money. All right, fine, whatever, let's do it. And then next, the floodgates open because.
Did they say it won't be on Game Pass?
They said it was, for those streaming services in the UK and stuff. They said that it was going to be on their service. And Nvidia, same thing. GeForce, they said those games will be on the service, the GeForce service. They didn't say about merging Game Pass. They said those games would just be there. So just like those games are there now, you have to buy those games, unless you link it with Steam or something like that. But as from that other services in the UK, that it doesn't work that way. You buy the game and then you stream it from the cloud. So unless they change it up and then they start advertising Game Pass now available on GeForce Now and stuff, but that's not what they're advertising. They're just saying games will be there, first party Microsoft games. Yeah,
I'd be surprised if they didn't find a way to put it on Game Pass.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, Adam Blitz says those deals have been proven to have huge holes, and Microsoft didn't want to discuss them.
Oh yeah, because it's like, how long did you know about this? When was the original plan? Tomatoes. Listen, don't worry about it. We're doing it. Now, what they could do, this is what I think should happen. If this deal does go through, they should be held accountable that this is going to remain, because the way Phil says it is that, why are we not offering lifetime? Because we don't know what's going to happen in the next decade. Everything could change. All right, fine. Well, then after the 10 years, then everyone needs to go to the table and there needs to be a guarantee that, yes, maybe it's not another 10 years, but years. There's got to be some structure. There should never be an option that any of these games get taken off the table. You know what I mean? After 10 years, I don't want to hear that, oh, yeah, you know what? We decided no more Call of Duty for no one. That's it. It's just us. No, that shouldn't be an option.
But, I don't understand. I don't know. I just don't understand why. This seems like such a weird situation. And I guess I'm coming off of too, I'm not sure if you guys have heard, but Sony said if the Activision deal goes through, that they won't be able to share their dev kits with Blizzard Activision for the next Call of Duty because it could give away proprietary secrets.
They're shooting themselves in the foot, and it's all bullshit. We know it's bullshit because then if the game comes out bad on it, it's like, hey, it doesn't really support my new controller, my PS6 controller. What are they going to say? They're going to blame Microsoft for that? I'm like, no, you want the best possible game on your platform because you want people to keep playing on your platform. So you're still going to help the developers. It's dumb.
By the way, it seems like they want the guys in the chat want us to talk about the loopholes.
Here's the thing.
Jacob says Microsoft can't legally be held accountable because of loopholes in these deals.
See, I don't really understand what the loopholes, because the main thing is just making sure they stick to the deal. I didn't hear about any crazy loopholes besides if they were going to stick to the deals or if there was any not loopholes, but exceptions, for example, like Starfield, from what they said, that would still be, it would be on PC Game Pass and Game Pass, but they said something that wouldn't be on those other streaming platforms. We're not going to see that on the Switch, that type of thing. We're not going to see it on some of the other ones. It's not all of the games, the newer releases, but it will be a large majority of them. So that could be listed as one of the loopholes, because it's like, hey, you said all games. And they say, yeah, but there's going to be some timed windows, and it could be that type of situation where maybe Starfield, when it comes out, it pops up on those other services a year later or something. We don't know. That's the other part. That's what the EU had brought up before, where they were like, hey, we need some more assurances that after these deals are over, that things aren't just going to disappear. And they said that they made these deals with them. We don't know all those deals because that wasn't released. We just know that they made some agreement and they shook hands and the EU was okay with it. So now we just need to find out what happens after this. And I have a feeling that if this does go through, there's going to be a bunch of stuff that's going to be linked to it. Like, hey, you got to guarantee that there's parity. You got to guarantee that these games will never get taken off the table after the 10 years is done. You know, that everybody gets to go back to the table, work on new deals. Don't try to, pull in some like, oh, you got to pay X amount of money if you want, you know, like sort of like blackmail, none of that type of stuff. I'm sure there's going to be these type of things made because there's a lot of parties involved in this. So that's pretty much it.
There's a couple of things here.
Go ahead.
J Shep says the loopholes say that Microsoft can unilaterally change the deal at any time.
See, now that's the part for which deal? For all the deals or just one deal? Because remember, they have different contracts for each platform and each region. Like the EU got a special deal. Remember, they didn't have to do that same for Brazil and the other one. So, you know what I mean? It's weird. We have to find out exactly more of like what they meant by that type.
I mean, it's an endless talking point. Is like, here's the problem. Like, no matter what, we are aware that Microsoft is a billion-dollar company with an army of lawyers that can probably do just about anything they want to make legally work. Like, that's kind of the thing with a lot of fucking like big companies like that, man. Like, I don't think that there is any way that we as a group of people would trust that Microsoft is 100% legally bound to never be able to change this in an ironclad fashion. And if we do, it's going to be an hours long discussion on semantics. So I'm going to focus more on like, okay, so if they don't stick to this, like I honestly, I don't see what the big fucking deal is. Like, this is a genre. Hold on a second.
Well,
Android baby.
Well, what goes with it, real quick, with what you're saying is true. It's like, well, what really happens? What's the end result? Because, like you said, it's like they have so many lawyers, and something's going to happen. Because that's the thing. If let's say Microsoft doesn't go through with it, then what happens? Then somebody else could come in with a big wallet, and Amazon or somebody, and then they can make these deals. And then what? You're going to argue that they shouldn't be doing it, and they could do something probably far worse. You know?
Well, and it's not even that. Like Call of Duty, according to you yourself, Adam, was definitely struggling in some fashion. So, like, if Microsoft came in here and decided, you know what, fuck all y'all, we're making this shit exclusive, right? As the lesser sold of the two bigger consoles, that is going to open up a huge market opportunity that you can bet your bottom fucking dollar that people are going to rush to fill in, right? And this isn't something like, you know, this isn't some magic formula thing, like for some reason why nobody's ever been able to make another fucking Skyrim for some goddamn reason. Like, there are a lot of really talented companies who are pushing to be in this space. And the end goal that you would see would be a highly competitive clash for a new King of the Hill, which, honestly speaking, in real talk, would mean you would see a rush of competitively high-quality games pushing the envelope for innovation and quality to try and be the next Call of Duty that sits on top of that mountain for the next fucking decade. Like, the only thing that I see here, again, is if Microsoft was dumb enough to pull the rug out from under their own feet and make this thing exclusive, it's just going to breed competition. That it's going to leave a power vacuum that is definitely going to get filled. This weird scenario that people seem to be afraid of, like, well, they could take Call of Duty and then Call of Duty wouldn't exist. Like, no, that would start an arms race of Call of Duty games, and Call of Duty games would fucking dominate the development cycle for the next decade. I don't want to see that.
We already had that after Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, this isn't tinfoil hat. This is history. I, as a gamer, don't want to go through another decade of trying to find the next Call of Duty. That's why, like, as somebody who doesn't play Call of Duty, please keep this multi-plat, because I don't want to see that Call of Duty war happen. I don't want to see all games vying for that trillions of dollars.
That's what happened with the majority of people playing. Are there other great first-person shooter games like this? Military? Yeah, there's a bunch out there. But the thing is that people get established, they get set in their ways, and I'm like, I got this one, and this is the one I like, and I'm going to keep playing. Fuck all this shit. Oh, this is better. This one has, like, you got permadeath. I don't give a fuck. I've been playing Call of Duty forever. That's what I'm in.
Right? And if you throw a disruption like, I don't know, it going exclusive, that's going to open up a lot of room for people to, it's going to shake up the field, and it's going to open up all those doors for those innovations that people have just kind of like, I'm set in my ways. Like, well, now if that's cleared off the table and you've got to pick a new game, well, now you're going to pick the best one, the one that has the best maps, the one that has the best combat. Again, it would probably honestly, and again, I don't want this to happen, but for the people who really love Call of Duty, the best thing for you in a weird sort of way would be if Microsoft did make this exclusive. Because then we would kick off competition and you'd see the benefits of that competition. And that's what this is all about at the end of the day. That's what I've been preaching from the very beginning. Like, competition is good. Competition gets you a better product.
Yeah, in all industries. But Tony, real quick, who was it? Jay Shep?
Yeah, Jay Shep. He has a bunch of other comments here that I want to get to. But yeah,
it's Jay Shep. This is the one that I have though.
Yeah,
this is one, and they haven't brought up, and this is a loophole that I think they could definitely play, and it'll be like, well. So they kept emphasizing that with the whole thing with the Starfield and Redfall, it's like, hey, this wasn't actually produced. We didn't actually have a product, so we never took anything away. Yes, there was ideas on the drawing table. Those can't count because there's plenty of ideas. But let's say this deal goes through, and they said the same thing. Hey, 10 years, everybody gets Call of Duty. What's stopping Microsoft from making another branch, another series of Call of Duty, something separate? Then they could apply that same logic. Hey, you never had this one. It's just an idea we just came up with, and that's exclusive. You still got your Modern Warfare. You just don't got Call of Duty. I don't know, 3181, whatever it is. That's our version. So that was new. That wasn't. You never played it, so don't get upset. And we're not breaking any. That could be seen as a loophole because like, you're being a little shady there because you said it was going to be parity with all the Call of Duties. Yeah, existing Call of Duties. You're going to get your Black Ops and all those things. But this one, So I could see that, and that could be shady. I don't know if they would go down that road because I'm sure a lot of people would pick up on it, and maybe it would open up some doors for lawsuits. But out of all the shady loophole ideas, I think that one, something I think I could see them trying to pull.
Yeah. Let's see what other. Again, chat's going nuts. You guys, shout out to you guys, man, in the chat right now. Okay. Jay Shep asked you a question, Brett. Would you sign a deal with? He goes. I'm just going to read what he wrote. Would you sign a deal with me for your house that I can change at any time?
No, and like I get what you're trying to say, but like, bro, you realize that's apples and oranges. Like, number one, why would I do that? Because that's a huge. Like, what are you giving me? What am I getting? And like, I get what you're saying that like, why would we believe Microsoft? And my response was like, again, the reason I don't care is because the worst case scenario really isn't that bad. In your example, I lose my house, but like, would I sign a deal with you that said at any time you could take my house, but you give me one in Hawaii? Yeah, I'll take that deal. I mean, yeah, I have no control over the situation that happens, but I'm good either way. And if, as the person who, we're talking consumers, like we're not talking like you're not PlayStation. This doesn't affect you negatively in really any particular way, unless you are a hardcore Sony fanboy and Call of Duty fanboy, in which case, like, yeah, no, I totally get it. But it's not an accurate comparison.
Oh, and real quick, just to go off of that, one of the main things that was also said on the Microsoft side is that they admit they had lost the console wars a long time ago.
Yeah, they said that, yeah.
They were like, there is no way it would make any business sense to say, no, we're going to make this exclusive. They can't expect the millions and millions of people that own a PlayStation to all of a sudden abandon that platform and say, oh, well, I guess I got to go get an Xbox. They're not dumb. That's not going to happen. So that's the other thing, financial, and which is why Steam, which Valve was like, no, there's no need to sign a contract because it would be dumb for you to take this off a PC. You would just lose tons of money. And the same applies for PlayStation. It would be really dumb financially. Investors would lose tons of money. It would be horrible. So they're not going to do it.
Yeah, you'd cut your market share by like 2/3. So again, like, I get what you're saying, and I get where you're coming from. And like, maybe you are one of those people that is deeply invested into both of those things. But like, for the most part, if you're just a Call of Duty fan or just a console gaming fan or just a video game fan, Like, for most of us, this doesn't have dire consequences. For most of us, it has potentially good consequences in that it increases competition, which could lead to industry-wide innovation and quality increase, as it has done time and time again. That's the thing. That's the thing that I really want to stress here, man. Like, I want to live. Hold on. I want to live in a world where everything is puppy dogs and rainbow farts and sunshine too. Like, I want to live in a world where we live in principles, but like, principles don't fucking matter when they work the opposite way in the real world than what you think that they are going to. When you're like, oh, I don't want somebody taking away my gaming franchise because it's going to make things worse for me. I do understand that. But then when you can point to the data and be like, historically, that's never how it's happened. Historically, it's always been the opposite. Like, at that point, man, like, how you feel versus, the reality that we live in, like, yeah, you can stand on your principles until you're blue in the face. Like, I could say nobody should fucking steal, but I'm not going to put my credit card information out on the internet because people fucking steal, and that's the world that we live in. And you can't just kind of go off of, well, should be's and would be's. You got to, look at the way the market reacts, and the market reacts to competition in a way that is healthy and good for consumers historically. And like, that's the thing I don't really hear being argued here.
Well, that's what they brought up. Microsoft brought up too. They were like, well, the big franchises that are out there are still on there, Minecraft, and then with the Fallout stuff, and it still has the parity, gets all the same updates, just like it does on all the other platforms. They keep supporting it. They never cut that support.
Yeah, so like, I get the hypotheticals, but like, at a certain point, you want to substantiate your hypotheticals with past experience or precedents and that kind of thing. So like, if you can justify this kind of attitude about like why Microsoft deciding would be, to suddenly make this exclusive would be good for them and bad for you, I mean, I'd really like to hear that argument because
by the way,
one nobody's supposed to me.
Blitz says that the conversation that you and Adam are having is all should and would be, that they're bringing up facts that came out of the case.
You're bringing up situations that came out of the case, but the assumptions that you're making and the leaps of logic that you're making aren't historically accurate by any data trends, man. Like, that's not how this has ever worked before.
For that. They wanted the FTC to actually produce evidence of this, and they didn't produce any evidence. All they said was, well, you made Starfield and Redfall exclusive, and that was going to be on PlayStation 5. They didn't say anything about putting games on there and making them inferior. And that was the other concern, right? It was like, oh, well, that's what Jim Ryan said. They're going to make it worse. It's going to be horrible on it, and no one's going to want to play it. It's like, well, prove it. Show us some numbers. Show us some proof that we've done this in the past.
Yeah, by the way, just real quick, because you said that this doesn't concern people or whatever, Brett. Can you reiterate that statement? Because J Shep has a comment about that.
I said, unless you're hardcore in both the Sony camp and the Call of Duty camp, this is probably more beneficial to you than.
He says his concern is about the industry as a whole. And J Shep, I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but he does feel this is going to lessen competition. By the way, guys, I'm your voice for tonight because I legit don't give a fuck about any of this shit. So I will speak for you in the chat, So please keep dropping those comments. But anyway, so yeah, that's his fear that, that it's going to lessen competition when Microsoft is gobbling everything up.
That's a valid concern. I mean, we get concerned every time we would see EA buy another studio. Remember some of our favorite Mass Effect studios, they would buy them like, oh shit, what's going to happen? And then they just go down the shitter. That's always the fear.
Yeah. By the way, Blitz says, what assumptions have we made? We stated that loopholes were found, and you guys went off arguing against that.
What you're saying? What loophole?
The one where apparently Microsoft could change the deal at any time.
Where though? That's what we asked. Where in what market, in what region? Because the FTC went through a whole other process. Remember, they had to make all these special changes to the contract deal. So the contract is not the same everywhere, is what I'm saying. So loopholes could be, we need to find out who has a loophole. Is it with the deal that they made with Nintendo? or the GeForce? Is there a loophole where they say at any point they can pull? Because I mean, if that's the case, we're all under that when we buy something digital, right? There's always that little disclaimer that they can pull that shit whenever they feel like it. Doesn't matter if we gave them the money. They decide, hey, we don't want you to have this, it'll disappear from your library. That's always there. Doesn't mean it's going to get activated, but it's there.
Oh shit! J Chef goes, I thought Adam listened to the case. I guess he thinks you didn't. I guess.
Well, of course he thinks I didn't because he's got his own opinion. He's got his own thing, and he's always been stuck on it. He doesn't seem to see the bigger picture for this. He doesn't like Microsoft, and he sees them as big bad, and that's fine. Whatever. I don't care. I don't see any of these companies looking out for my best interests. They don't care about me. They just want my money. All I care about is accessibility to these games. And if Sony was willing to put it on all these other platforms, then I'd be all for that too. But they're not. If they wanted cross-play, which was one of the things we were advertising and trying to get for the longest, and it was what Sony and Manny were like, we don't give a shit, but it's not a big deal. That's going to phase out. But it forced Sony to eventually agree to it, and then they made a big stink about it. It's like, why? It just makes sense. If you care about players and the community as a whole to play together, why are you blocking? Why are you trying to cut yourself out of the party, and keep yourself like a private school? Because that's what they're really treating it. This is a public school mentality. This is, let's get all the games on all the platforms. Let's all have fun and play together. If you don't like the company that's doing it, that's fine. But if it's not them, it could be somebody else.
I think the thing about it is that a lot of the whole exclusivity thing is partially a business strategy. It is a business strategy, at least for Sony. So I feel like when it becomes something on the opposite side, when the exclusivity starts to turn, when it's something that legitimately makes them make serious money, and it's going to be, there's the sign that it might end up being on the opposite side. That's when they'll throw the red flag, because obviously, we're going to say this, like the force of Call of Duty is definitely a deciding factor when it comes to people, when it comes to general audiences adapting a platform.
Wait, Adam didn't hold on. Adam didn't label you anything, J-Shep? Like, am I hearing something wrong?
I'm just saying that he has no interest. We've already heard this. He doesn't really like the whole Microsoft purchasing. He's against Microsoft as a whole.
Fair enough. Yeah.
He said this. That's what I'm saying. But if it's not Microsoft, it will always be another company, is my point. And then we don't know what their goals are. They could tie it off. If, let's say, Amazon, because remember, people got to remember this, they offered it to big companies. They offered it to Apple, Mac, Facebook. They offered it to Google and Amazon. They all turned it down. Microsoft's the only one that was willing to pay this absurd amount of money. But let's say if Amazon did, what's stopping them at that point saying, you know what? Call of Duty, we're pulling it. We're putting on Lumina. That's it. You got to get our service to play it. And what? What are you going to do about it? People would be bitching, but what can you do? But at least with this, we know the goal is to put it on all these platforms. That's it. It's they want to get on these services, and that's a plus. I don't see that as a negative. I don't get it. I don't understand why. It's got to be just because it's Microsoft. And that's the same thing with the FTC. Why they didn't even want to hear Microsoft when they first said we're making this purchase. They were like, nope, reject. Because they see it as, they're a big company. They're just out to destroy and take over and exclusive and all that stuff. I was like, well, there's other things going on here. And just like Jim Ryan pointed out from his conversation, saying, hey, they have a bigger goal here. It looks like they're aiming in another direction. We're still going to be good. We're still getting the game. It looks like they just got bigger wallets, and Microsoft's got bigger wallet, and this is what they're going to do with it. They're going to go and make this service, this big gaming streaming service. Now, some people may not want that and be like, no, I don't want it. I know a lot of people that were pissed when Netflix started just doing a lot of streaming because they like their physical copies, because they like to then copy it and make their own copy.
Okay.
And they're like, now everything's going to go in the cloud, this and this and that. And then you talk to them a few later, and some still hate it, and others like, this is cool. I got it on my phone now, and I got it on my little tablet here, and all my TV's got widgets for it. All right, it's not that bad. I got it, all right, whatever. Yeah. And that's it. So it's the same thing. Is that where Microsoft is trying to go? Absolutely. They're gobbling up as many of these software companies as they can so they can make the Game Pass their version of Netflix. Some people don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. Oh, here's something interesting. And Brett, I want your take on this. Jay Ship says, I'm not against Microsoft as a whole. It's opposite, actually. My point of view is like Brett's for Sony, but mine is for Xbox. I've been screwed over by lies too many times.
We've all been screwed.
Fair enough.
They fucking forced me to get a Kinect. I just wanted a regular Xbox. I didn't want to fucking Kinect. You know, there are no winners. That's what I'm saying. There's no winners. You just got to look at the plus of what would work for you. How can this benefit you? And for me, when I saw this, do I give a shit? I get these games anyway. I'm going to play it on any platform, you know, if there's whatever games. But I do like the fact that if I can log in on my PC or my Steam Deck and everything through the Game Pass and all those games are there, I don't have to buy them again and they're all linked. That's great. If they're all going to be on it, like you guys already know, I'm all in on the Call of Duty. I always go in it, whether I bitch or not, I still pick them up. I love Call of Duty. But hey, I won't have to buy them. It's right there. It's all there. It's going to be on all of them. To me, that's great. Diablo, great. I don't have to go on the BlizzNet. It's going to be on all of those services. That's great. I'm excited for that. You know, maybe bring back some of my older franchises that Activision doesn't give a shit about, like Guitar Hero or Tony Hawk, which they abandoned again. You know, I mean, there's a lot going on here. So that's it. If Apple had come around and said, hey, we're going to do this, and I don't know, I'd be a little iffy because I'm not really in that ecosystem. You know, I don't have Apple Arcade or any of that, and that would have sucked if they linked it to that. Can you imagine that? Because they don't have a dedicated gaming console or a PC that even really gave. So then it would have all been cloud-based. You know,
unless they optimize it for the new Macs, you know. But.
Yeah, unless they went to another direction, but then that's probably why they didn't buy it when they got offered, because they're like, there's too much of an investment for an ecosystem to develop around producing these games. It would cost way more than just a 60-something billion. Nah, we'll pass. And the same thing with Amazon. Amazon bought MGM. Okay, MGM with the lion roaring. Think about that. Think of those movies. They own massive movies, and no one says anything.
Because actually, they don't own a lot of movies.
All those shows?
Actually, they don't, because MGM was essentially all of their classic movies were all rated by Warner when they owned it. Ted Turner. So yeah, he literally took a bunch of all their movies and then sold off, then cut the company off. So
they still have Stargate and all that stuff because they kept pulling it from everywhere because they're like, oh no, we're gonna do stuff with we own it, and they've been pulling stuff from Netflix and all the other ones, and that's what kept popping up. It's like a lot of things that are MGM owned, they're taking it and putting it on their servers, and then they're not even giving it to us. If you're a Prime member, you still don't get access to it. You have to pay extra for that shit, and that's shady. Yeah, that is shady.
Got another question for you, Adam. Also from Jay Shep. Do you have faith in Microsoft's ability to uphold or make Activision games better, given how Microsoft's recent history with games? I don't, and that's what I have to lose as a gamer.
I agree with that too. Look what they did with 343. Look what's going on with the coalition. Not the website where the butter guys, the buttercrew.com. Yeah, but just the games itself. No, believe me, I have my concerns. Look, where's my Rockstar table tennis? It doesn't matter how many forums I go and bitch on Reddit and shit, and how many times I give a like when someone posts a video about how they love shit and they want to come back. They don't care. My concern is the same as your concern, that it would fall apart. But the reason why I'm not too concerned about it is because I see all the studios that are coming. If there was just them buying these IPs and then giving it to their existing studios, all the concerns in the world. I'm like, they're going to fail. All these games are going to bomb. You're ruining everything. But the fact that they're buying the studios along with the IPs, that's a big deal, right? Because then it's like, well, it's business as usual. We're just slapping the Microsoft logo on it. Do we see them skimping on it? Microsoft doesn't like to skimp on anything. Uncle Phil, he's representing the rich guys. Even Jim Ryan's seen it. They got deep pockets. They are not dumb when it comes to these things. They want to put all the money. What they are dumb about is forcing certain things that weren't done right, like the Halo Infinite stuff. It's like or like Redfall. No one putting their eyes on that shit, seeing development and how far it was going, because those are horrible. But I mean, man, he'll be the biggest factor for it if, let's say, this deal closes and then we get another Call of Duty, but now under that umbrella, under the new ownership, and it's hot garbage everywhere. then there you go. Let's put up the pickets. Let's boycott. Let's do everything. Burn your boxes, put it on YouTube, do something. But I don't see that happening because they are bringing the devs and the studio. They're not just getting the IP. They just gobbled up the IPs like that whole THQ thing when they were just having a blowout sale. Like, hey, take this, take that. That's different because you don't know who's going to work on them. But we know these studios. We know Sledgehammer, and we know these guys. We know what they can do and what they can produce. So you have to have faith in the studio.
Yeah. Again, more talking points about what happened today. Indiana Jones is an Xbox and PC exclusive.
Real quick.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Can I chime in on the last topic? Because I don't agree with Adam.
Okay, go ahead, Brett. Then we'll talk about Indiana Jones. Yeah.
I don't give a shit about Indiana Jones.
But we got to talk about it because that's actually kind of. We'll go.
After that movie, nobody's gonna give a shit about it.
Yeah, but it's something that to Sony's point about Microsoft and exclusivity. But Brett, bring up your point.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out there, so I don't disagree with what Adam said. I kind of veer off that path way earlier. Where I'm of the mindset of look, I get everybody's concern with what if Microsoft doesn't keep their word. I think where I differ from everybody is where I'm that's things I don't really care all that much, because even if they made it exclusive, like I said, there would be a power vacuum. There would be games being released. But I think the assumption, when we're talking about what assumptions we're talking about, the assumption that I disagree with is that a company who is running last in the console wars is somehow going to become dominant from the acquisition of one franchise. And it's somehow going to become immediately so lopsided that it's going to become anti-competitive or anti-consumer for the entire industry and lead us to 1,000 years of fucking darkness. If you look at most of the top rated games of all time, a good chunk of them are exclusives, and that's not on accident, right? And I'm going to count Half-Life in there because Half-Life was really trying to pull people onto Steam during the inception. But Half-Life, Portal, Zelda, fucking God of War, Halo, Last of Us, the Mario games, fucking GoldenEye. It's the reason they bought Minecraft. Metroid. I think Persona was exclusive, at least for a while. It keeps going. And, all throughout fucking Final Fantasy VII was a fucking exclusive. The games that you look back in history and you're like, that was a high water mark of gaming. Half of those are fucking exclusives. And that's not a coincidence. You have to look at the motivation people have to do things, right? And if their motivation is, make it good enough so we can squeeze more money out of them, that's fine. But if they're competing against somebody else, they have to do better than somebody else. Historically speaking, that promotes competition. Competition promotes growth, and that is good for consumers, right? It keeps prices down. It's not necessarily good for developers. It's not great for companies, but it's good for us. And, you can even look the years that we've had the least amount of competition, the last, 7 years, have been some of the most dire gaming years I've ever experienced in my fucking lifetime. And again, I don't think that's a coincidence. If you look at the data, every time there's, high competition, we get these really good titles that last forever and redefine fucking gaming and carry us into the goddamn future, man. When we don't have those things, we stifle innovation. We have the market produce things that aren't great for consumers, like loot boxes and microtransactions and live service games, right? There is a direct correlation between how much these guys are fighting and how well we're making out. And I don't see keeping dominance for a company, and I'll start by saying Microsoft did it first. I get it. But I don't see keeping dominance for a company which is artificially putting its thumb on the scales and using its weight as major shareholder to stop other companies from being that's the thing. Microsoft can't get some games because Sony is stopping them from being able to get games. That's how much control they have in the industry. That's too much. That's too much for Xbox. That's too much for Microsoft. That's too much for fucking Apple. That's too much for anybody. When you start seeing practices like that, we have an unbalanced industry. And when we're talking about a knee-jerk reaction of just like, no, don't adjust it the other way. Like, why? Why do we want to keep having this so off balance? It's not good for any of us. And I challenge anybody to show me the data where monolithic dominance by one company has ever been good for the consumers. Because I'm pretty sure corporations don't care about us as people and never been like, you know what we should do? Make things cheaper and better just to be nice. Because it doesn't fucking happen.
Well, they always try. Look at Nintendo. Nintendo tried for a long time. And it worked.
No, Nintendo's answer to this whole fucking thing is more fucked up than anybody else. In Nintendo, instead of competing, it keeps carving out a more and more niche space so they can continue to have their asshole antics. So they can continue to piss on their own fan base, to under-deliver to them, to overpromise to them, and to fucking sue them when the opportunity suits them. And then, instead of actually moving into a space where they compete, they just kind of dance it to the side and be like, we're the only one in this space. Yeah, that's fine, but it's not doing great. Nintendo's surviving by their strength in game making. They have their pulse on what makes a game fun. Nintendo is not succeeding based off of their business practices or their customer outreach. Those are not the highlights or the reasons why Nintendo's just fucking killing it right now. Yeah. And even if you're a Nintendo fan, you could say that those are points that they could improve on. Nintendo, in the back of the day, used to actually, even if they didn't care, they made a pretty good job of pretending.
Blitz says that's what it's all about. He's like, as long as you make good games, all that other stuff doesn't matter.
It doesn't, no. And that's why Nintendo can continue to grow. I would say, I think it would still be better if they did have those things. But as long as you keep making great games, that's fine. But that's, again, this is what I want to see. I want to see more great games being made, and I want to see that by people not resting on their laurels and figuring how can we get the most money out of each of our customers. I don't want them to say, like our customers are untapped assets that we can monetize more, right? I want them saying, how can we sell more copies of this game? I want this game to be the one everyone's talking about. It's about aligning motivations. Yeah. As long as you motivate somebody to fuck you over, never going to be able to trust them.
I want to read a comment real quick from Mr. Jolly Yellow, then a couple of Blitz here. He says Nintendo's lifeline right now is making damn solid games. It's like the only thing they need to. It's like the only thing they don't need to improve on, but nearly everything else is crap. So he agrees with you in there. So anyway, so this is what Blitz says. I want to talk about this. This is kind of interesting. I wish Microsoft, would actually compete with good games instead of their bottomless pit of money. Sony earned their place. Microsoft is trying to buy their place. Why is Microsoft not held to account for being bad at gaming for so long? So he's basically saying the reason Sony's dominating is because they did it the right way. They made a bunch of good games, they did a bunch of good deals, and came, where they are now. Whereas Microsoft is just trying to buy their way into it because they can't make good games.
I think some of Sony's best games are what they were at one point, acquisitions. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't disagree. I think Microsoft should have some homegrown studios. On the other hand, I don't know that we as the consumers really wanted to wait long enough for them to do that. So at a certain point, when we come to the clusterfuck that was the connectors, like, we could sit around all day and be like, yeah, they shouldn't have made Kinect. That was where they went wrong. But like, after that fuck up.
360. If that rang with depth, if it was a smaller company, that's it. They would have been gone.
Yeah. So like, let's look at it from like 5 years ago when they really started a lot of these acquisitions. Like, what would you have done if you were Microsoft? Do you think the market would have waited? Like, we were clamoring for games pretty loud. I feel like still at the time, the appropriate response was acquire studios. And, if I weren't sitting here playing Final Fantasy on my PlayStation because, again, Sony leveraged its market share to make sure that it didn't come out on Xbox, I might be feeling a little bit different, but I'm staring at the consequences like as we speak, and it makes it kind of hard to see around,
Blitz says, I was on Xbox for 12 plus years. I had enough and ditch. They have, so,
Yeah. My main concern is if Microsoft backs out, what else do we have? Who would step up? Because once I heard Activision was for sale, I'm like, oh, this is it. We're going to get a new player. Somebody else is going to jump in and buy. I really didn't think Microsoft was going to be the one to buy them. I was like, oh, this is it. Because we just saw Amazon launch with their own gaming service. We see Apple trying to launch their whole gaming service with the Apple Arcade. I'm like, oh, this is a no-brainer. One of these other two, I didn't really think Facebook was going to get involved because they were focusing on just their VR stuff. And they both stepped aside. So if, let's say, this doesn't happen, and let's say Microsoft says, you know what, you're right, we suck at this, we can't do anything right, we gobble up all these other studios, then they screw up once they get here. Everybody gets high and doesn't know how to make shit anymore. It's over, right? Then what? Then what do we got? We got Sony and Nintendo. And Nintendo, like you said, they live on their own island. They're doing their own shit. Then what?
Yeah.
Then what happens?
Yeah, Blitz says no one wants Microsoft to back out. We just want them to step up and earn their
place. No. But that's the thing. It's no one to back out, but they could back out. They could easily just say, you know what, wipe their hands. We're done. They've done it before. Remember the cell phone market, the Luma. There was plenty of other things that they tried, and it just didn't work out. I'm surprised that they're sticking this long in gaming. I really didn't think after the Red Ring of Death, that whole thing, I was like, oh, this is done. I don't see this coming back. And then they came out with the VCR Xbox One, and they forced with the Kinect. And then that was a breaking point for me. That's when I was like, I'm done. And I went to the PlayStation. I was like, I'll just play my games here. Yeah, so, but the thing is, it's all about, like what Brett was saying, it's competition for every industry. If we only had one car company, what do we get? Who knows? Probably if we can still roll up windows. You need competition. We need that. And the thing is, with gaming, it's very expensive. It's not one of those things where it's like, hey, I got a few million. Can I jump in this space? No, not at this point. So I want to see everyone succeed. I don't want to see PlayStation go out of business. I don't want to see greedy Nintendo go out of business. I don't want to see Microsoft keep dropping the ball like they have. I mean, they just have bad luck. That's just the bottom line. Because they've had every opportunity. They had money. They've picked up things. The hardware was great. Then the things messed up. Then bad marketing behind the scenes when they were going to have 2 SKUs. No, we're going to do then TV. I mean, on paper, a lot of these things sound like great ideas until you put them out in the world. I'm like, I didn't want any of this crap. Why you? If it was an option, then it's fine. But when they put it front and center, it's like, no, it's not the option. It's all about this. So it's been some bad choices. Now we got Phil running the show, and he has his own plan. His plan, Game Pass, put in games, get as many games as you can. Nadella says he's going to open up the wallet. Then all right, let's start writing some checks with a goal, not just to build up the Xbox. Xbox, pretty much we could say is dead. It's a console, but you don't need the console for anything. They're not going to keep hyping it up. Oh, look at our butter box. No, it's all about look at the games that we have on Game Pass that you can play on your device. And that's his goal. And if this flops, that's it. Hit the road. I remember once we found out with this whole thing, I was talking with Rich in the chat, and he was like, what's going to happen if it doesn't? I sent him a picture of a hitchhiker. That's it. That's what's going to happen. If this doesn't go through, then there's no growth opportunity. That's what it's saying. It's saying, you know what? It doesn't matter. The days of you guys gobbling up big companies and trying to build this service is done. It's not going to happen. Like they said already in this case, they're not winning this console. They're not even in second place. They're seen as like he had said in the chat. They're seen as like the company that makes games or buys studios and then flops on.
Yeah. By the way, Jay Chef says this turned into a moral conversation. Let's take the facts. All right. Let's get to this other topic.
There's no winning.
So okay, here's the facts.
By the way, we're still going to be talking about this, but keep going. Go ahead.
What I see more likely happening. Like I understand all the doom and gloom scenarios where you're like, here's how Microsoft could slowly kind of shift the balance. Like it could come from either side, man. Like Sony has already said that they're not going to share their dev kits with Activision Blizzard, which means that Sony would have a very good reason to have clear issues that are, quote, not their fault on the next versions of Call of Duty, just as they come out with their own homebrewed version of a competitor that gets, updates, blah, 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 sooner. Like, it could very well be happening that Sony is already planning something that they consider to be a Call of Duty killer. And there could be several third-party companies already coming up with it. So, like, yeah, there are scenarios where, like, Microsoft could shift the situation where they make it exclusive. But here's the thing. They'd cut out 2/3 of their market share if they did it too quickly. So it would have to be a slow boil. And I already feel by the time that slow boil would kind of come to fruition, man, like, other people's plan Bs are coming in. If this deal gets brought through, some people are already going to be gunning up for Call of Duty. They're already going to be saying, like, this is the disruption we need. Now's the chance.
Yeah, Blitz says, correction, Sony said they wouldn't share specs of upcoming consoles prior to release of Activision Blizzard. J-Shep says, no, they share until after the console releases, not never.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm talking about, like, a launch title. But, yeah. But, again, that just seems like a weird flex to me. And, like, I kind of get why. But still, I can see that if I were nefarious and intelligent, I worked at Sony, I would be saying, like, they're sowing the seeds of their own destruction right there. All right, so we don't share the dev kit. And then when it comes out, it's a bit of a clusterfuck. We look at them and be like, do you see what Microsoft did to Call of Duty? Good thing us over here at Sony have come up with a new trailer for something that we think might scratch that itch. Like, not saying that's the way it's going to happen. I'm just saying, like, again, if I were devious as fuck.
Here's a question I have for everybody in the chat. If this deal doesn't go through, what do they think happens with Activision?
So,
that they ride off into the sunset making money in video games.
No,
if it doesn't happen,
someone's going to buy Activision regardless. Isn't that the case? Like,
yeah,
no matter what happens, someone is going to be buying Activision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
so
because they put themselves to a sale. Yeah, they've already agreed.
I'd rather, and you know me, I don't care which way this goes, right? But I would rather Microsoft buy them than Apple or Amazon. Amazon, that's probably the worst win. But yeah. But anyway, I want to move on to some other stuff that came out of the ruling here. And I know you guys don't want to talk about it, but I do think the Indiana Jones thing is important because basically the game was originally going to be coming out on PlayStation. Then after the deal happened, they're like, nope, we're keeping it. So Sony's like, see, these guys did it before. They're going to do it again, you know?
Yeah, but the reality of the situation is, like, you know how that makes you angry feeling? Like, that's exactly the reason that companies don't want to do that. They don't want to piss off their customer base. They actually try not to do it on purpose, believe it or not, most of the time. If they try and lure you away, man, it's going to be with honey. It's going to be, if they tried to get you out of the PlayStation architecture into the Microsoft architecture, it would be by offering this game for free on Game Pass while you still have to pay the $70 that you were going to pay on PlayStation. Right, like there
was no contract written for that. Deathloop had a contract, which is why they honored it and it stayed on PlayStation for a year exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a contract written for this, Indiana Jones, if it was in writing, then they would have to honor it, and they're willing to honor it, but they didn't. There was no contract.
Yeah,
new ownership.
Yeah, another thing. This one's interesting. Activision forced Microsoft into a Call of Duty revenue deal. So I'll read this real quick. From The Verge, Tom Warren. Activision forced Microsoft into a new Call of Duty revenue deal. Sarah Bond is detailing, because he was live blogging this, Sarah Bond is detailing how Microsoft had to agree to a new revenue share deal with Activision to get Call of Duty on the Xbox Series S/X consoles. Activision refused to agree to prepare its Xbox dev kit work and hinted that it had a different revenue share with PlayStation. Activision Bobby Kotick wanted Microsoft to agree to a new revenue share deal before work began on Call of Duty for Xbox Series X, whatever. It was clear that Call of Duty would be on PS5 and that would not have been good if it was not also on Xbox if it was launching at the same time, says Bond. Activision also asked Microsoft if it wanted to bid on marketing deals for Call of Duty, but it declined. That ultimately meant Microsoft couldn't show Call of Duty in its own Xbox showcase. Very interesting.
Well, the one thing that actually, when I saw that, well, I saw some of it. I didn't see all of it, but now that you bring that up, that just points some truth to what Phil said, that he didn't want to do any of those time exclusives. Remember, he kept saying that even on the Kind of Funny. He's like, I'm done with that. Well, I guess that's true. Then I guess he was offered it if he wanted that to go into that bidding war for time exclusivity, and he passed on it. I guess that's when they're like, fuck it. Are you guys they're for sale? Then maybe we'll buy you guys.
Yeah. Jay Shep says there was a contract with Disney. Microsoft renegotiated a deal to make exclusive. Yep. I'm not surprised by that. Another thing here. Go ahead, Brett. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was on mute. I don't. That actually, all of a sudden, like that casts a whole new light on a bunch of stuff that has really got me wondering, right? Like, so if Microsoft was in danger of not getting Call of Duty or getting it with parity or at the same time, that might cast a whole different light on the motivations behind this acquisition. Because if you think about it like that, like, so if you're Microsoft and you're getting told, I don't know, you might not get Call of Duty, we might need some more money, we'll see what Sony has to say. Maybe they'll offer us a better deal so that we don't give you Call of Duty. That'd be an awful shame if you didn't have Call of Duty, as a modern console. That'd just be a damn shame. Like, that would cast the whole deal in a much stronger light of them maintaining their access to Call. Like, maybe this isn't even a question about them trying to make it exclusive. Maybe this is a question of them trying to maintain access to it, especially, again, Final Fantasy, when we're living in a market where it's not actually uncommon for Sony to be able to leverage their market share and get things blacklisted from the Xbox console. And if I were over at Microsoft and I was like, okay, they're threatening to lock us out, we could just buy them. That might actually make a lot of sense.
Well, I would like to know when that was said, because once they announced that they were for sale, that was across the board at the same time. So I'm wondering if this was before or after that.
It sounds like it was before.
Yeah, it does sound like it was before, because if it was after, unless they were like, hey, we're for sale. I mean, if you want, you could go and buy us. You wouldn't have to worry about that.
That sounds like they got threatened with no Call of Duty and then mentioned that, by the way, we are for sale. Like, that feels like some mob.
That's some shady shit right there. Let's make the movie. Where's this movie? I can't wait. So whether this wins or lose doesn't fucking matter. It's already shaping up to be a good movie.
So I'm actually here. I want to ask the rest of the panel, like, is that super tinfoil hatty, or do you think that might actually have some merit to it?
I don't know, man. Again, I'm so disengaged by this whole thing. I don't care. I don't know. Right. But I'm inclined to say no. That's probably not what happened. Because remember, Activision, and I know there's some dispute about this now, but Activision was the one that came to Microsoft, right? So
it was before. Yeah. They went to others first. They went to others first.
They did go to others first, yeah.
Tony, if I come to you, you're Microsoft, I'm like, hey, we're thinking about not giving you Call of Duty. We really want some more money, and we're waiting to see how the whole market shakes out. Like, we might be entertaining offers to.
Hold on, was the whole renegotiating thing, again, like you guys said, was it before or?
Yes.
Was it?
You just read that. What did they say?
To me, the way I read it, it's like
they said before they started on Call of Duty, before they started on it.
Let me read that again, because I missed something. Because I will admit, when I read something, I don't retain it because it's just words coming out. Let's see here. Okay. Activision forced Microsoft into a new Call of Duty revenue deal. Sarah Bond is detailing how Microsoft had to agree to a new revenue share deal with Activision to get Call of Duty on the Xbox Series X. Activision refused to agree to prepare its Xbox dev kit work and hinted that it had a different revenue share with PlayStation. There's nothing here that says before, though. That sounds like an assumption on you guys' case.
What do you mean? I said I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I
okay,
said,
Press,
I don't know before.
Yeah, I don't see anything before he.
I thought I heard you say.
No. So
I thought you said
I don't know when.
No.
I don't know when that. That could have been at any.
So we have to assume it was after, because before it doesn't make any sense.
Why would you negotiate a new revenue share deal after you've already started being sold to somebody?
But why would you do it before? That doesn't make any sense either.
Unless it was some kind of like, all right, so we know that because this came out also way before that Sony was getting a better deal when it came to getting Call of Duty. So how many years is that with them? What did Microsoft say that they were going to honor? It was like up to 2024 or something. So that could be that deal, and maybe Microsoft's deal with Activision was to expire last year. Whenever that mention there was like, hey, it's time to make a new deal with us because we're putting more resources to develop, and clearly you have this inferior console with this S shit, and we have to make a version to work on that. So how about you sprinkle some more money in my pocket, and then we can make that happen a little faster. So
did you say they wouldn't provide dev kit tools?
Yeah.
Okay. How early in development does dev kit tools happen?
I don't know. Xbox dev kit work. Yeah. Yo, by the way, Carlos, are you there, man?
Yo, man, we still talking about this?
Yeah, no. J Shep and Blitz want to hear your thoughts on this. And I was gonna say Carlos probably dozed off because he doesn't give a shit about this, just like I don't. You know.
Yeah, the NBA draft's going on, and I knew Brett and Adam were going to be the most passionate about this. I didn't want to get in the way. I haven't been paying a lot of attention to the stuff that has been going on today. You guys mentioned at the beginning of the show the whole Jimbo thing where that letter or that email that he sent over, and it's like, and people were like, "Oh, you see, like this is evidence to see that he's a hypocrite." But for me, it's like that's more of an evidence that he didn't know what the hell he was talking about. It's like when you lose Call of Duty, and it's a main part of your system. It's like you have to take that seriously.
Well, he didn't. Well, that was the email. He felt that he didn't think they were. That he spoke to both of them, and that they were good. Call of Duty's going to stay there. That's what he said in the email. It wasn't that, we're going to lose it, but we'll be fine. It was more like, no, we'll be fine. They're going to do their thing. They're thinking outside the box in a different direction. They're not thinking exclusivity, which is the way he was putting it. It's like we're thinking. But
he didn't know. Like the thing is, he didn't know. Like. Just being all optimistic about that. When you're a CEO, when you're someone that runs a business, you're always got to think the worst case scenario here. You can't be like, maybe Microsoft will throw some bones. They'll keep the status quo. Like you can't really think like that. So that's for me, that's just Jimbo being inept more than like he always knew that Call of Duty was going to be there. No, he didn't. So that's my whole thing with that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm talking to myself. Continue.
Oh, and just this whole thing with the going back and forth, the litigations and all this stuff. I haven't been keeping up with it, and it's intentional. I don't really care one way or the other. If anything goes through, I'm like Tony and pretty much the rest of the cast, other than Brett and Adam.
It's just industry news. This is it. It's not that we have one horse in a race or not. It's like this is it. This is our second go around at something like this. We lived through it with the Nintendo and Sega, and now we're having this. This is amazing because then we'll die, and I don't know if my kids will have this experience. This stuff may not even be around by the time they get older. This might be all a thing of the past, like VHS, and everything might be just streaming in through some other services. I'm like, oh, remember when there was actually consoles? What the hell is that? What are you talking about? It's always been in the cloud.
Okay, I have some information that's relevant. According to Bond, quote, a year ago, we wanted to show that Call of Duty Vanguard was launching on Xbox. We were told we could not say it on YouTube or any other place where customers who were not our own customers would see it, and we had to hold off for a period of time. She made these comments. If we did not move beyond the standard revenue share that Bobby Kotick intended to not place Call of Duty on Xbox. So it seems this conversation was had a year ago, and it was threatened that Xbox would not be getting Call of Duty if the revenue shares were not renegotiated. And I would state that I don't think saying you're not going to get the game from the company that you just bought was something on the table. So I'm pretty confident that this had to be a conversation that had that took place before.
Oh yeah, Vanguard. That was the one prior to Modern Warfare 2. So yeah, that's
okay. So we can chronologically say that basically Activision came to Xbox and threatened to say, if we don't get a bigger deal, you're not getting Call of Duty, and it's just not going to come to Xbox. So they were definitely threatened with not having access to Call of Duty from Activision, and were then told by Activision, oh, by the way, but we are for sale. So I just want to throw out that those. That's not assumption. That's points that are made from them having the conversation about Call of Duty Vanguard over a year ago, which was chronologically before the time that Activision put themselves up for sale.
Okay.
So these aren't assumptions. That was just the facts. Now, what we can assume from that, there's a lot, but that's just the facts that they were definitely threatened with not getting Call of Duty, which.
It's negotiating tactics. That's all this is. Like, I don't know.
No, I know.
We're trying to Scooby-Doo to some place that's like really nothing, because all of these people talk be on one side of their mouth and the other. That's all they do. That's all this is. This is always business. Microsoft, Sony, Activision, they all have emails talking shit about people. They all have emails kissing ass to people. They all have emails about everything. It's all about the emails. Like Adams always says, it's all about the emails. And and all of this thing is like, well, Activision was playing a hardball with us, saying that they might have not put Vanguard on the Xbox, and I'm like, I'm like,
we all know the same thing. We all talked about Microsoft has deep pockets, and they knew it too. And he was like, we just squeeze them for some more money. They're gonna pay it.
Yeah, well, they're
using every single piece of evidence they can to make themselves look like a victim, and this is all this is. It's like, how can I make myself look like a victim? In the worst possible way. Both Sony and Microsoft are doing this, and it's anyone can do it.
Yeah. I don't think that's courthouse in a wheelchair. You feel distressed. I don't think he went blind while he was in court. It's like, everybody does something.
We're not trying to uncover who is like, Microsoft was was being wronged. It's like,
nobody said that.
No.
I feel like this is where all of this is going to. It's like
no. All I said was it cast Microsoft's acquisition in a slightly different light. Like, why they would move that aggressively, like, because the kind of question, like, I think everybody has is, why would Microsoft move that aggressively and purchase something like that and then not make it exclusive, right? Like, that just, most people assume, that just means they're going to make it exclusive.
The FTC, that was their argument, that they were going to make it exclusive.
That's what I'm saying. Like, when you look at it, you're like, well, why would you go to all that trouble and not make it exclusive? Well, the part of the answer might be to make sure that they can't really leverage their market share. They can't be like, well, if you don't let us release on the console, then we're going to take our 20% of total video game market share and fuck right off, like, ooh-hoo, boo-hoo, cry me a river. They can't really negotiate with market share. All they can negotiate is with deep pockets. And so it kind of seems like they're like, okay, well, we can either keep paying them a ton of money to make sure that we still have access to this so that we stay relevant, or we can just fucking buy them. And I don't necessarily think that Activision didn't lay that groundwork themselves to be like, yeah, you have nothing to negotiate with money. We want more money, or we're for sale. Pick one. To me, that explains a lot. And none of it's like a boo-hoo, Microsoft was wronged or the victim or anything like that. It was just one of those like, it was a calculated decision. They didn't want to lose Call of Duty, because if Xbox lost Call of Duty, holy shit, that would have been the nail in the coffin. Don't tell me that would have been a fucking news story heard around the world. Microsoft can't even keep Call of Duty. Developers fleeing Xbox's platform. That would have been the kiss of death, man.
It would have hurt. Definitely would have hurt. It would have hurt, and it would have brought the gamer community just trying to figure out, like, why did Activision do this?
Now you're doing the exact same thing Sony's doing right now. It's like, well, they could have lost it. They could have potentially lost it,
Yeah,
there's nothing set in stone that they were going to lose it, but it's like, look at this track record, look at this email.
It's like, different when the company that owns it threatens you with it.
They're playing hardball.
Threatened. It's a difference.
Yeah, well, now Microsoft's going to own the company, and Sony's on the other end looking like the same thing.
Yeah, but Microsoft has never threatened to keep it off of, like, that's the difference.
They threatened by keeping Bethesda games exclusive.
Okay, if
that's
you
a track
the
record
difference between an actual direct threat and an implied one, I don't know what to tell you, man. But like, one is very different than the other.
Well, if you can't tell the difference between track record and theory, then I don't know what to tell you. Because they've done this, they've acquired studios and they made them exclusive. That's just a fact.
And I never said they didn't. But I am saying there is a very real difference between saying they could do that and somebody saying, the company that owns that, can do this, right? Like, an express threat is different than an implied one. It's just a different thing, man.
And this is why I don't like this conversation anyways. It's like, what the hell are we gaining from discussing all of this? Like, no one's going to win. No one wins this. Like, I don't know.
But this is the same thing we talk about whenever any of these studios gets acquired by anybody. It's like we talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, what's the plus side and what's the negative?
Well, we got to talk about it because we're a gaming podcast. We're a gaming podcast, and this is the biggest thing in gaming. So
whether it's good or bad, it's going to impact. It's going to impact.
Again, if it was up to me, we've been talking about Final Fantasy. We're probably not going to get to any of the other topics tonight because of this fucking story. Just being real. But listen, the fans are engaged, and we're here for you guys. You guys want us to talk about it, so we are giving it to you, baby.
I understand.
The Throwdown listeners win. Let's fucking go, Jay Chef. That's who wins. Good shit, man. Go ahead, Carlos. Finish your point, because there's still more Microsoft stuff we got to cover here.
Yeah, I understand why the conversation's taking place, because it's a huge topic. It's just, for me, it's like when people pick sides on this. Like, I understand fanboys picking sides, and I understand some people that are more inclined and stuff. But like, there's a lot of conversations going on online where it's like people are just posting like, "Oh, look, Jim said this." It's like boom. Here's the right punch. Sarah Bond is coming from the top ropes with a fucking haymaker, and I'm like, it's fucking stupid.
That's stupid. But that's what
I'm fucking done with this. Like, I don't care about this stuff. Like, that doesn't move a needle for me, and it doesn't really move a needle for anyone other than fucking fanboys.
No. It's not that. It's like, why do we care about the sub that went down? Why do we give a shit? We're not involved in that. But it's news.
I don't care about the sub. I don't know.
I cared because that's going to impact that entire
We never
industry.
talked about it in our group chats.
Yeah, we did. Oh, well, that you weren't in that one. But we talked about the sub. And yeah, we care about it because it's just news. And it's no different. This is news. Do we really care? We care because it's in the industry and we play these games. We'd like to know what's going to happen to them. And then if, let's say, we never talked about it and then this shit happened, like, hey, well, how come Microsoft fucked this game up? I don't know. I didn't follow it.
I mean, the only reason I care about it is, like, I think it was an interesting move on Microsoft's part that, like, it doesn't 100% add up to me. Like, it's just kind of the equivalent of being like, that's a weird move. I wonder why they did that.
Same thing. I didn't think they were going to. I really thought it was going to be Amazon or Apple. When I found out they were, I was like, oh, somebody. I do not think Microsoft would jump in on it.
Yeah. And I think everybody collectively looked at this and went like, they're just buying it to keep it open multi-platform. That seems weird. And I think that's the root of everybody's issue. That's the root of people's anxiety that Microsoft is lying to them. I think that's the root of why I'm kind of curious about, like, I wonder if it had anything to do with, like, them fearing they had loss of access. And really, it's just because, like, by looking at the actions, you can kind of tell the motivation or the direction that a company that generally doesn't share that kind of stuff does. But beyond that, I think it's just a lot of people that are afraid they're going to lose access to their favorite franchise. And I don't foresee that happening. I get why people are afraid of that, but I think everything's going to be okay. I do believe that, again, for some reason, like, it's not going to benefit them to take this away, and they like money, and so cool. Maybe they're just trying to secure a revenue stream. Maybe they were afraid they were going to lose access to it. Maybe they have secret plans down the road to quietly take it away from you. I don't really think so, but I do think there's a legitimate thing that a lot of people share that was weird. I wonder why that happened. But beyond that, man, I don't think there's any reason to kind of honestly talk about a lot of this.
Yeah, couple of comments about that. Blitz says, with the uncovered comments about Microsoft wanting to destroy PlayStation, Xbox losing Call of Duty would have been a huge loss. Same goes for PlayStation. Then he goes on to say, to be clear, I'm looking at this whole shit from a fan of the industry and worrying about where it's headed. Could be Xbox, Nintendo, or Sony doing this, and I'd feel the same. And J-Shep says, yeah, I mean, none of us have control over what's happened, but as a fan of the industry, this is very intriguing.
Yeah, so one thing I want to say to you guys, like, you've seen this happen. One thing that I think I want to remind everybody is talent. A lot of talent doesn't go away. Sometimes it retires and things like that. But what's going to happen is these companies get brought on. The people retire from their own companies. They go, they found new studios. They try something a bit more experimental or innovative. And then we see them launch in the industry 5 to 10 years later. It kind of moved up the ladder. Like, they're not locking talent away from you. Really what they're doing is they're locking down IPs because the industry as a whole has no good ideas other than shit that we already know has worked. And so we're going to invest in that. So the things that really matter to us, innovation, new games, talent, like, they're either going to stay at Microsoft because they're being treated so well and being given so much freedom and making awesome games that we like, or they're going to leave and start their own studios like they always fucking do. And we're still going to eventually get games we like. In fact, I think some of the ones at the PlayStation Showcase were third-party studios born out of the ashes of acquired studios.
Respawn. Yeah. Born out of Infinity Ward that was under Activision.
Yeah. Like, so we're fine. Our talent isn't going anywhere. It's not like people are retiring en masse from the video game industry. So names may change, but like war never changes.
Just to clarify, the Microsoft acquiring Activision is pretty fucking interesting, but hearing Jim Ryan's statements in a fucking court where he's trying to fight against this is not for me. And I guess that's the point where I get to. It's like seeing people, like I mentioned, people talking about Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer. It's like I don't know.
Do you watch Law and Order?
No.
All right, that is.
What a random comment.
The reason, no, because Law and Order is all about pretty much the case. Once they catch the criminals, then they go to case, and it's like a half hour of just back and forth trying to get evidence. And you're seeing the court battle, and you're seeing the judges. But
this isn't evidence. This is mostly
the most boring episode of Law and Order ever.
Yeah. Well, that's why you got to put Matthew McConaughey.
There's no murders. There's no intrigue. It's just a bunch of fucking studios, a bunch of fucking big companies going at it with the government and company.
Spice it up. But that's what I'm saying. It's all it is. I used to watch C-SPAN when they had that.
Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp was a lot more interesting than this shit.
Well, exactly. Oh man, bring it back to the old days, man. The OJ trial. Remember that shit?
Yeah, OJ.
Yeah, Activision.
You know what I found out? Here's something. Wait, real quick with that OJ, I found out today, and I don't know if you guys. He didn't drive. I thought he was driving.
J-Shep says he stays on Law and Order. Let's go.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
OJ wasn't driving. It was.
I didn't know that.
Well, that's why his driver got accomplice stuff too. So
I did not know that. I found that.
Yeah, OJ wasn't driving. Yeah, he was like in the back. He was in the back.
He was driving a Ford Bronco.
Yeah,
he wasn't driving.
He was flying on the highway.
His buddy Al Cowlings.
Yeah. There you go.
Adam.
Yeah, he couldn't drive. His gloves clearly didn't fit.
The gloves. Yeah.
I don't watch Law and Order, but if fucking Phil Spencer said that Jim Ryan shitted on his bed, I'll fucking pay attention.
Yeah, there we go. That's it. We need to hear some juicy.
Yeah, Mr. Yellow, you remember we were teenagers and shit watching that OJ trial, man.
Shit. You were at the house when we were playing that X-Men game, the Sega one. Remember your mom, everybody was over, and then they were like, "Oh, we gotta turn on the TV." Why? And then next you'd always see this Bronco going down. I was like, "Yo, that's OJ." This whole time until like yesterday, I thought he was driving.
No, man, he was hiding in the back. All right, another thing here that came up during today's trial. Microsoft has agreed to 80-20 Xbox revenue splits for certain games. So basically, Microsoft has agreed to lower revenue splits than its typical 70-30% split for Xbox games. FTC's counsel accidentally mentioned the 80% split while questioning Xbox's Sarah Bond. Microsoft agrees to the lower revenue split, quote, where we believe it was critical to get that consent, unquote, according to Bond's previous statement. Interesting. Yeah, because 70-30 is the industry standard, so I guess they're lowering it. That's kind of interesting.
Well, no, that's kind of what we've been talking about. So they're basically like, fuck, Activision was like 80-20 or no Call of Duty, and they're like, all right, and now that's out. And I guess I'm not sure. I can't tell from the sound of like if Microsoft's like, well, fuck, now we need to give everybody 80-20, or if they just kind of decided that ahead of time, like, yeah, we'll just give everybody 80-20. Maybe I'll attract some more people on. But yeah, I think the meat of what was kind of found out today, and the reason it's
maybe Epic Games is still the best deal. Don't they give like 35 or something like that to the publishers? They give like a really good number. Like that was a whole big thing of how they lured some of these games off of Steam for like time exclusivity deals.
80-20 is a fucking ridiculous split. Again, the only thing I find interesting about that was that Microsoft had to budge 10% in order, at least as they view it, to keep access to Call of Duty. You know, because they're saying it's critical. So like, okay, whether or not it's true, I don't fucking know. But clearly Microsoft thought if they didn't capitulate, they were going to lose access. And I can see that creating a pants-shitting storm all the way up the corporate ladder. I'll really have to sit around and like think about like, oh man, like that really throws another facet on things. But like, yeah, man, they want another 10% or they're walking. Yeah, that's definitely hardball. Question is, did they believe it? Because if they believed it, that's bad. That's real bad.
I'm sure this was one of many conversations that they probably get with a bunch of developers. Like, oh, how much? Hey, you got all these platforms. You know, it's going to cost a little extra. I mean, it's a tactic. It's a,
but that's the thing, though.
It's how they get money.
If this were normal, then it wouldn't be. Then 70-30 wouldn't be the industry standard. Like this by definition can't be a standard thing. They were asking for an unprecedented amount of money, and they got it. So, like, there has to be some legitimacy here to the concern, right? Like, this can't be just another Tuesday business as usual.
In my mind, I was like, you know what? This deal's going to fall apart. A month later, we're going to find out Activision sold to Tencent, and then that's it. It's over.
Yeah.
Everything's over. It's like, all right, goodbye to all of that.
Yeah, so really this is a whole bunch of news stories that basically say, hey, Microsoft was panicking. Cool, okay.
Well, maybe not Tencent this time. It looks like the Saudis are.
They can go.
Are all the rage right now.
They'll use the money we're going to give to Messi, and then they'll be like, we couldn't get Messi. We'll just buy this game company. Yeah. You know, well, it takes longer. It versus 1080p, it always boots up and says beta. If you ever go to boot it, you see a little spaceship and it says beta. It just lets you know.
God damn it! I'm sorry. I accidentally muted myself. I got to repeat everything I just said. Sorry about that. No. You guys heard me. They didn't. My bad, guys. I didn't even know what the fuck I was ranting about. Cloud gaming. Okay, so basically, one of Microsoft told on itself in a lot of ways, right? Basically, we lost the console war. We're in third place. And then they said, yo, nobody plays games through via our fucking streaming service. Because basically what happens is the service is so bad, apparently, like it's not stable, that people play a game on stream for a little bit. And if they like it, then they buy it. They said people do not play full games on this thing, that's a crazy admission to me. You know?
Well, you know what? What's crazy is when they said buy it, because I was like, this is on Game Pass. If anything, when I use it, it's just I don't feel like downloading. Let me try. I did with the Hi-Fi Rush and stuff. Like, all right, let me try it out, see if it's any good. If it is, then I'll install it. It saves time. But yeah, playing it over there, you're getting it at 720 to 1080p tops. And some people try to do multiplayer, and it's not a good experience because you're playing remote on another server and then trying to play multiplayer with other. I tried it with Halo and stuff. Wasn't a great experience. It's better if it's like a standalone type of thing, but still, you're not getting the best quality. And it is over the internet. So if you pause it or if you minimize the window, I was doing on PC, and you bring it back up, it gets a little glitchy, connection lost messages. Then you try to reconnect. Sometimes it'll create a save file, sometimes it won't. But they get the pass because it says beta at the top, and it's been like that since they launched. So, yeah. I'm not surprised. I was surprised when they're like, "Oh, people buy it." I'm like, I don't think anybody buys this shit. I think it's just a download. I don't know anyone who's like, "Damn, I streamed it. It ran like shit, but damn, I think I'm gonna buy it."
Yeah, it's interesting, man. So yeah, apparently they wanted to work on a separate version of it because remember, cloud gaming is connected with Game Pass. But to me, that's a stupid idea, man. Like we railed on Sony for years for having all these separate services. No, keep it all together, man. It's stupid.
Remember, we talked about that little white box when Phil was doing that interview, and it was on his desk in the background. Yeah, and everybody was like, "That's it," and he confirmed, "That's it," but it's dead. That was the idea. That it was going to be a little stream. Yeah, it was going to be a little stream box that they can sell, and that this would get it. But it comes down to bandwidth and stuff, and just producing that, just buffering it and holding the data so that way you can produce a quality game on the other end. And they just couldn't get it to work, so they scrapped. And that's the thing. We're ways off from that. Maybe if we were in Korea where they have the butter internet, but right now not all areas have that, and so it's just not there on any platform. Sony even said it when they came out a few weeks ago when they were talking about it. It's like, yeah, we're just not there yet. The cloud thing, it's very.
Yeah, Jake Shep says that I don't know because I didn't listen to the case, but anything that said from Microsoft while their lawyer is asking is meant to make Microsoft look bad to justify their acquisition. Of course, that they've been doing this. They're trying to downplay. They want to make they want to make themselves look like, oh, we're not trying to take over the industry. We're nothing. We ain't shit. Oh, I totally get that. I totally get that. It is just funny. It's like, yeah, they literally said we're in third place. We've lost the console war. They come on. You had Phil Spencer going, Starfield could be 11 out of 10 when it's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
When they started sending their own meme of that 85% showing that what Sony owns in the UK, it's like, look at everything they got. We got nothing. We got like 4 guys in Croatia. That's all we got out here, people.
One motherfucker from Kazakhstan,
we're hurting so bad. So bad. But then when you see their financials and like, wait a minute, you're making some money on this. Don't look at that.
Don't look at that, man. We're in third place. Nintendo's kicking our ass, man.
Look at this. They got that Zelda thing, whatever that game is. You know what it is.
I got to talk about that. That was some bullshit. And I'm glad Microsoft got called out on this, right? They said, because they asked them, like, yo, how are you going to make Call of Duty run on Switch? They said, oh, yeah, we may have to tinker with the graphics. So we have to drop this. And they're like, if you have to change it that much, it's a different game. And I agree with that statement. Yeah. It's a different game. It's like when you had the Super Nintendo version, the Genesis version. They're not the same game. It may have the same name, but it's totally different.
Oh yeah. Remember that was the issue with the Vita when Call of Duty came out on Vita. I was so hyped for that. I pre-ordered everything when that installed. I'm like, what the hell is this? It wasn't Call of Duty. It was bullshit.
Yeah, so that's what you're gonna get. So yeah, because remember we called them out on that from the jump. We're like, oh yeah, you're gonna get Call of Duty running on a Switch, and it's gonna be comparable to other systems. Get the fuck out of here with that.
No. It's gonna be. We talked about. We said it's
running on that bitch ass Switch. Get out of here, man. It's gonna
on that. It's gotta be the old ones. That's the only thing I can think of. Older ones with no multiplayer support. That's it.
Or streaming. Come on, man. Switch can't handle it, man. It's bullshit. All right. By the way, there's a bunch of other topics here, but I'm not trying to stay here for over 2 hours, so I'm going to come right to the chase. Let's talk about Nintendo Direct. Fucking bullshit Nintendo Direct. Let's see what they had here. All right. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, a brand new 2D Mario game.
Oh, is this true? Because Rich was saying that the release date for that it's the same day as Spider-Man 2.
It is. True? It is. Yeah, October 20th. Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. But it's 2 different audiences,
Yeah, it's still kids. They like that shit. Same audience, I think, when it comes to that.
Nah, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, like Brad.
Shit, Chris is here. What up, Chris?
Oh, I've been here the whole time.
Oh, yeah, he's been chilling,
ranting about Federal Trade Commission, Microsoft shit. I was like,
Chris is just as engaged with that shit as I am. But Chris, tell us about this game, man.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's interesting because they're doing different things with the powers, like these different abilities Mario has, and there's something like he like turns him into an elephant. I don't know. It's weird. I swear this shit going on in here that it looks like a half of a drug trip, and other half is like, thank God Miyamoto is like overseeing the Universal Studios stuff, and he doesn't see it, it's like he doesn't have control of this anymore, because I swear half this shit wouldn't happen. The flowers are talking to Mario, like the flowers on the ground, like they say things.
One of the
word
flowers is
balloons are-
LSD.
We should have
Yeah.
known that from Mario 3 when you have a raccoon that can
fucking
fly.
game.
An alpha. The raccoons don't fly, period. So what the hell is it?
No, but
And,
this
you
is like
know,
crazier. This shit is weird. Like, I don't know. It looks fun. I mean, people have been waiting for some
I am.
mainstream Mario game. Like, all you got is Odyssey. This whole
we
Switch
had
generation.
we had that Super Mario U, and now it's just a port of the Wii U version. The
Yeah,
Super Mario
yeah,
Brothers
that's
U.
not- That was a new game, so this is a
No.
totally new.
Yeah.
thing.
I like 2D shit. I don't know, but I feel like a lot of younger kids don't like the 2D. My son and his friends, they don't like the 2D.
Well,
one.
because the difficulty ramps up in those. I feel like the
It's
3D
harder. It
Mario
is
games are more accessible, and the difficulty kind of curve,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
stays steady. But
It's
in
a
the 2D
platformer.
Mario games, the difficulty just goes to the sky. As soon as you get like in the later levels, like you
Oh,
need to
yeah.
be on point, or you're getting.
I never finished it. And then there's no checkpoints. It's like once you run out your lives, you start that whole world all over
Yeah,
again.
you got to go back.
Yeah,
so it's hard, and it turns out like when we were young, we were just like,
Oh,
"Fuck,
yeah.
I'm doing this. Like, I'm leaving the
Shit.
Nintendo on all night. I'm fucking finishing it." But
Shit, my
people,
my friend
people
threw the
just tap out
controller.
now. They
he threw the controller playing Luigi Mansion, the third one. You beat that game. Remember the part with the piano that comes alive? It's
yeah,
like,
that was hard. That
He
fight's
flipped the
fucking.
fuck out. This is bullshit. He was like cursing and throwing, and it's like my even my daughter, she grabbed the other remote and played as a little spongy version to help him, and they both. Then she was crying. This is hard. Why is it so hard?
Is this game co-op? I'm watching a trailer right now.
Yeah. All that one. They're all co-op. At least the new ones are. Super Mario Brothers U is co-op, and what you call it? The Mario Odyssey is co-op. Somebody could play as Cappy.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah, my kids beat that one. One of them played as Cappy.
Mario Galaxy also had a 2-player element. to it, too.
Yeah, the stars thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there you go. So yeah, if you want new Mario 2D game, there you go. I probably would have been more. I probably would have been more interested in this like 3 years ago when I was still playing Switch. I can't go back to Switch. I'm good.
That's not. But that new Mario game is not the news. Fuck that game.
No,
RPG.
I'm going down the line here.
Nah, man, our Mario RPG was announced before that shit.
I'm just reading what IGN has, man. But yeah, it is the next one, Super Mario RPG remake. So there you go.
That's a lot of people are excited for that.
That's the big deal because that game hasn't been available in like over 40 years.
Yeah, I thought they were going to announce Paper Mario.
The thing about it is because that game was held behind by a Square Enix. Because they still own a portion of the rights to that game. That's why they never redid anything in it. So I guess either the rights to the game reverted to it, or Nintendo just said, "Hey, listen, we want to buy the other part of this shit."
Oh, so they redid it with like new graphics. Okay.
Yep, it's got new graphics, got new everything. They added a couple of new things to it. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. So there you go.
Good stuff.
Yeah. What do we have next? Detective Pikachu 2.
The movie?
No, the game.
The game.
Oh.
No, Nintendo doesn't show movies during their directs, do they?
Yeah, Sony does.
Well, no, they did because they showed the Mario one.
They should show the Mario one.
Yeah.
They had a whole direct devoted to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Detective Pikachu 2.
Yeah. Man, here you go. Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 1.
That's not even really an announcement. It was all coming out for everything. The only big thing that come out of it is that we actually got a date.
Yeah.
Yeah, October 24th.
Yeah, they never had a date. They just and the additional stuff that's to it, which wasn't in the other one, is they also not only do they have the original Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, they also have the Nintendo versions of Metal Gear and Snake's Revenge.
And soundtrack.
Huh?
And the soundtrack. I don't remember if the other one had the soundtrack.
No, the soundtrack is not. It's neither here nor there. It's a digital soundtrack. That's whatever. But the other thing it has on there is the two visual novels that were released for PSP. So they essentially took the IDW. They literally took the IDW comic and made them like into motion comics. But there's also gameplay aspects to them too. So yeah, so that's all coming in the volume 1.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think it's up. I think it's up for pre-order right now, but I haven't seen anything. They say physical on the site, but I don't know what they're doing physical.
I'm excited.
Pre-order the digital version.
That's a double triple dip for me because I'm going to get on Steam and get on the console.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, here's it. The big things I'm concerned about is, judging by the footage from that does not look like at least from the Switch, it didn't look. Didn't even look 1080p. Hopefully, at least if they're getting those games up at the 1080p. At least all the 3D games. Number 2, I hope that the whoever is doing the port of Metal Gear Solid didn't use a fucking PC version. Because that thing was a piece of shit.
That's probably the one they used because they didn't mention anything at the bottom. Because if you look at the image, you zoom in at the bottom of each game, it says like, "Oh, this is the HD version."
There's only
say anything under that one.
It could be. I mean, hopefully, it's a new port of Metal Gear Solid, but I'm hoping because this one is different because it does include also includes the VR missions, which was a separate thing. So what we're getting is the integral version of Metal Gear Solid. So, but I'm hoping that they just went back to formula and just literally ported the games because I'm hoping they don't use that dumbass PC version. Oh God, that thing was a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
My guess is they're probably using the x86 ports of the previous game of 3 and Metal Gear Solid 3 and Metal Gear Solid 2. The Xbox versions, because they probably wouldn't use the crazy ass PlayStation 3 version to base those off of.
Well, yeah. And then that was the other rumor that came out that they released or somebody saw that the volume 2 and it's going to have the Metal Gear 4 that was on the PS.
That's the rumor.
No, that's a rumor. That's a big rumor. But the idea is if there's a volume 1, there has to be a volume 2. And what would the volume 2 have? Well, volume 2 would probably have Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops 1 and 2, maybe the Acid games, maybe the Game Boy Ghost Babel Metal Gear game, and then also Metal Gear Solid 4 and 5. Because officially there is no there is no PS5 or Xbox Series S version of that game. So see. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. All right. Again, I'm just reading this off of IGN's thing. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda and Ganondorf amiibos, because we're still doing amiibos.
I mean, it's a good business for them. People like buying those, like to collect those little statues. I got a couple of them, like the ones from Smash Bros, like Ryu and Ken.
Yeah. WarioWare Move It will bring the micro game party to Switch. Is this another remake or is this a new game?
It's probably a new game. I mean, the Wario games are just mini games.
WarioWare are just mini games, but it's a new version of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Pikmin 4.
We knew that was coming.
Yeah. It says new details, gameplay revealed.
Yeah, they showed. I mean, it looks nice. It's Pikmin. If you like Pikmin, you'll like that game.
HD versions of Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2 are headed to the Nintendo Switch eShop later today. Okay, so they're available now then. Okay. Cool.
Hey, play yourself some Pikmin.
Cool. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Hidden Treasure of Area Zero expansions got a new look. Okay.
Yeah, it looked like they did a little bit more work on it. And
another Mario Kart 8 fucking expansion. Really?
Yeah,
they put the caterpillar in there now.
Part of the past. It's part of that season.
I mean, you can't say they're not supporting their games.
Well, they didn't support it on the Wii U, No. It's
See, everybody
hilarious.
No, but Brett, they're only really supporting this one. I mean, Game Freaks is supporting Pokemon, right? There's always like one DLC pack at least for Pokemon, but Mario Kart 8 has become the Wii Fit of the Switch. It is the evergreen title that they are just pushing out season passes and updates and cars and all that shit. And it's also still their top selling title.
Tim Blitz says rather Amiibo than fucking Pop Funkos. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
At least Amiibos
Yeah, everyone's
look correct,
Funkos.
not those fucking with those big eyes. What the fuck is that? You know. At least Amiibos look what they're supposed to look like. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon remaster. All right.
Yeah.
Along,
Yeah, there was
announced with Princess Peach game. Okay.
a new Princess Peach game. Yeah.
Also an old one. Vampire Survivors, whatever. Dragon Quest Monsters. What the fuck is this?
It's Pokemon with Dragon's Quest monsters,
Whatever.
basically.
Yeah. Sonic Superstars. Is that the game we saw before?
Yeah, that's the 2D Sonic game.
Yeah, 2.5D. All right.
I mean, we'll see what it is. We'll see what it's all about. But
This one's interesting. So the Batman Arkham trilogy is coming to Switch. How the fuck is that going to run on there? You know?
Yeah. Well,
is it going to be streaming?
No. The older ones, they could definitely run.
What about Arkham Knight though, man? Like,
No.
yeah, Arkham Knight
Yes.
Arkham Knight came out at the same time as the Switch. So
Well, that wasn't part of that collection. It was only Arkham Asylum and Arkham City.
no, it says right here the trilogy, Adam.
Yeah, it's a trilogy. Yeah, it's a trilogy
sure?
now. The
I
Switch.
don't.
It's
I
called the
don't know.
trilogy. That's the name of it.
I know.
And they
but
showed. I
I
watched the direct, and they showed the 3 logos.
don't know how that one's
They
going to
showed
run
Arkham
locally.
Knight.
Yeah, like
I don't-
Asylum and City I could see, but Knight? I don't know about that.
Cloud-based. That could be their cloud-based.
Yeah, all DLCs are coming.
Oh,
with it.
have
All right.
you tried any of their streaming cloud-based stuff like
Probably trash.
Evil Village?
People tried
It's
it,
trash.
and it
It's
never
total
worked. Yeah,
garbage.
Never worked.
Like, there's no way. They might as well try to run it locally, preferably over that cloud shit.
Yeah.
And
But
that'd
yeah.
be amazing. Couldn't
Yeah.
even run on a high-end PC. It's
Yeah.
gonna run on-
Yeah, no, Asylum and yeah, I could see the first two. I guess I could see that, but Knight couldn't even run on PCs when it first came out, you know, and it's going to run on fucking Switch. We'll see about that, but I guess they're going to make concessions, right? Blitz says it's not streaming. I really got to see how that fucking game
and I
runs.
gotta see it.
You
I
know,
can't
like they're gonna have to make it look like a PS2 game to get it run on Switch. You know.
Yeah.
All right. Hold on,
That game got pulled off of PC, off of Steam for a year because it was so damn bad.
Yeah. Mr. Jolly Yellow says, we may get Mario Kart 9 as a Switch 2 launch title, question mark? No, because they're probably going to give you more Mario Kart 8. I wouldn't be surprised, you know.
Call it Super Mario Kart Deluxe.
All right, moving on here. Star Ocean, the second story R announced.
What?
Oh, it was originally released on PlayStation. All right. Persona 5 Tactica. Fuck is this? Well, let me look at
It's
this real
a
quick.
tactics game with the
That was
Persona
shown-
5
that was-
characters. Yeah.
that was shown before. I think during the Nintendo.
Oh, yeah, it is a tactics
PlayStation one.
game.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Myth Force brings a Saturday morning cartoon roguelike to Switch. What
I
is-
don't think that's a console exclusive or anything. I've heard of that before.
Is
Force
it-
thing. I know it's not
Yeah.
for first person. Everything looks cell shaded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Myth Force is a first-person melee roguelike that will have you and your friends adventuring through dungeons in the cursed lands to stop the evil Daedalus. Myth
Great.
Force, yeah, hey.
Mario,
Mario,
already,
yeah.
and that does a roguelike if you put it on.
Mario plus Rabbids, Sparks of Hope, The Last Spark Hunter is set on a musical planet. Whatever. Splatoon 3's next, who cares? Dance the Night, who cares? Pelia is a what is, I'm not even fucking trash.
Stop making
Pe-
up games,
I-
Tony. You're making
Yeah,
up shit.
Penny's Big Breakaway, Fae Farm,
Farm.
Silent
sounds
Hope, Headbangers, Rhythm Game,
They were a tag team in WWE.
Gloomhaven. I don't know what that is. Manic Maniacs, Hot Wheels Unleashed.
Maniac Mitch.
No.
No.
Manic
Remember
Maniacs.
that one?
Yeah.
Tread carefully.
Yeah. And Hot Wheels Unleashed 2. Yeah. Real scorcher of a Nintendo Direct there, huh?
I got everybody buzzed
Yeah.
up with the Mario stuff early. And that was
Yeah. One of my boys texted me during it because I was working at the time. He's like, yo, this thing is cheeks. I'm like, it's a Nintendo Direct. What do you expect, bro? You know?
I mean, the big news when it came to big announcements was, besides the Mario, was the Ubisoft shit. But I don't know if you're going to talk about
What, Just Dance?
I just listed everything here, Adam. So if I miss anything.
it wasn't there. It was just when they announced that they were doing the Star Wars Outlaws and it was only going to be available on the Ubisoft store. It's like, what? Who buys that? Who pays for the Ubisoft service?
Ubisoft Forward or whatever the fuck it's called.
Whatever you play, I think that's different. Well, they announced that the Star Wars Outlaws, right? It's going to be
more like Ubisoft backward.
Yeah, and it's not going to be on Epic. It's not going to be on Steam. It's going to be on their Uplay shit. You got to become a sub to play it if you want to play it on PC.
So since you guys,
I'll bring it up, J Shep. Don't worry about it. Go ahead, Carlos.
Since you guys mentioned the Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 1, I want to ask Adam. He's been he said something on the text messages about a Metal Gear Solid 4 thing. Could you expound on that?
The Metal Gear Solid 4 thing. Oh no, it was with the Volume 2, and IGN had this thing where they found something on the placeholder or something like that, and it had some listings, but that's what we said. It's like a rumor that they were going to have some other stuff in that Metal Gear Solid 4 would be part of that Volume 2.
Again, like I was saying, like if there's a Volume 1, there's going to be a Volume 2. And what would the Volume 2 consist of? Obviously, Metal Gear Solid 4 is going to be on there.
Or Survive.
I mean,
no, please don't. Please don't.
Here's the thing. I think in general, like the order of business is possibly to have get all the numbered Metal Gear games out. Mm-hmm. So I say the two definites are Metal Gear. The three definites will be Metal Gear Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid 4, and Metal Gear Solid 5. Portable Ops ? Ghost Babel ? And the Acid games are a huge question. But
Blitz
I think
goes
in general that they want to, because again, it's what is it? I can't remember the anniversary this year. I think it's like the 40th or something like that, or 35th anniversary or something crazy like that for Metal Gear.
Yeah, something like
that. They want to have all that stuff out now.
Yeah, you know what I'm doing, because we did have a couple of things I just had to cut out because we're already running over time here. Ask us questions about like some of this stuff, guys, for this week. Blitz goes, you may not have thought much of the Nintendo Direct, but at least they are releasing a heap of games this year for fans of the system. Can't fall for them. Yeah, and then, Nintendo is keeping fans fed, unlike Xbox. So I'll give them that. I can't be mad. You gave us what we want. Hey, there you go. Listen, man. I think the whole Microsoft, Xbox, whatever thing is fucking stupid. But you guys obviously want to hear about it, and we are here for you guys at the end of the day. Because there's not to go off on a rant. Cause we're not like some of these other entertainment entities that go fuck the fans. We're gonna promote our point of view. No, you don't make money that way, even though we don't make money anyway. But the point is, we're here for you guys. Anyway, real quick, E3 canceled 2024 and 2025. And as soon as I saw that news, I was like, let me go to Jeff Keighley's Twitter real quick. He didn't talk about it, but he retweeted the news. So yeah, I think Summer Game Fest is probably going to be the E3 now. But the thing is, if you think about it, we kind of had E3 week this year. Wasn't official, but we kind of had it. Everybody decided, hey, we're going to have all our conferences in this block of time,
What I didn't understand with this, why don't they just say they're done? Why do they just say, oh, well, not for the next 2 years? No, just say you're finished. You're not doing this shit anymore. They're still leaving that door open.
Concede to Jeff Keighley. You know what? I'll toss this just ram it in there real quick. So Microsoft says that we're probably not going to get next gen consoles until 2028. Sounds about right. Sounds about right. 8 years. That would be as long as the Xbox 360 era, right? Because that began in 2005, ended 2013. 8 years. But it would be longer than last gen. Last gen was 7 years.
Also, just an interesting note. Last generation, the Xbox One generation, it took Microsoft around 3 years to come up with a mid-gen refresh system.
We're getting there, Carlos. We're getting there.
Oh.
We'll ram that in there too, real quick, because I got to get your thoughts. I know we're running late, but whatever, man. We got to talk about this. So apparently, this is not a rumor. Microsoft said this. They consider the Xbox Series X, the mid-gen refresh.
Fucking bullshit, man.
So basically, they're trying to say that the S is the standard Xbox.
That doesn't make any sense.
Makes no fucking sense.
How they advertise. Remember, the most powerful system ever made, blah, blah, blah. And it's got a little sister, Tina, and it's one.
So I got to get your take on it. So to me, like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
I don't know. Who said that?
Microsoft.
I get that they're saying they already have two SKUs.
Yeah,
they're saying it because the S is the one that's making them the money. So that's the main one. That's what they're saying. They're saying
you might be right about that.
They're essentially seeing the Xbox Series X as the the pro version of the console, but the main version of the console is the inferior, like almost last gen version of it.
Even the S, I looked at to see if they changed the price of this black one and they did. I think it's like $450, right? Is it like $400?
Oh, it's more expensive.
Yeah, they definitely jacked up the price for it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Manny's take could be one avenue. I think another one could be they don't have a mid-gen refresh, and probably no Sony does. So they're getting ahead of the news by be like, oh, we already have our mid-gen console. That could be another one. I don't know.
Hey, this outdated consoles are mid-gen refresh. Yeah, that's smart.
I don't.
That's stupid.
That is.
Yeah. And the last thing we could quickly run through, Xbox is hiking up the price of not only its consoles outside of America and a couple other places, but Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah. How much?
Game Pass is only $1, right?
Game Pass
Ultimate. Yeah. But for the other, you want me to go through all the consoles, Brett? Is that what you're interested in?
No, I'm just like in general, like is this a big price hike?
No, it's just $1.
Okay.
But somebody in the chat, I think it was Ace Ali, pointed out, like Microsoft, they said we are not going to raise the price of Game Pass after we acquire Activision. I was like, yeah, they hiked it up before.
Not all market. There's a big point. But
they hiked it up beforehand.
Well, and also they Microsoft Phil Spencer dunked on Sony when they raised the prices.
Yeah, that's right.
Of their systems. And then we talked about it during the show, and I said during that show, wait when Microsoft raises their prices.
They're gonna do it.
Yeah,
I definitely feel it. And
where's Miss Cleo at, man? Yeah. Every time, bruh.
All right, y'all need to stop listening when corporations tell you anything.
Yeah. Yeah, just like
especially
1080p 60 frames, right? Remember when they told us that
during FTC litigations?
No. Okay, if we want to get really pissy, like
that's what they said.
You want to talk about unkept fucking promises from both of them? Microsoft, you came out here and said we are going to support last gen for 2 years. Bitch, it's been 2 years and then some. Why are we still getting games for last gen, right? And Sony, you just came out and said we believe in generations. Mm-hmm. That is straight up bullshit.
Yep,
like it's been over 2 years. Yep. Where are my fucking exclusive? Both of y'all. Both of you.
I don't care. They just want money.
No, and that's why I'm saying, like, anytime a suit tells me anything, I'm like, sure, okay. And like I get that everybody here is probably the same, but like we do have a lot of people being like, well, you said this, and I'm like, yeah, were they wearing a tie? Then they were lying. That's pretty much a rule of thumb that you should go by. If somebody tells you something while they're wearing a tie, they're fucking lying to you.
Yeah, no, Spider-Man 2 is not on PS4, thankfully. You know, I'm curious to see how that game runs.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, did that shit? Okay, again, if Microsoft did it, I would still say that seems longer than 2 years that I had to wait for that shit. But okay, but to Sony, you straight up said like, we believe in generations. Like I know that that's not promising anything. And I know that's just a weird nothing burger of a statement. But still, in context, you made it seem like we were getting PS5 games well before now.
We got a handful, to be fair, but yeah, it's not.
As far as I'm concerned, yeah, like I said, everybody who's ever been on a podium ever has pretty much at least lied to you. Like, so you're like, okay, so like, then the question becomes, did they lie, or just like kind of lie about some bullshit we all knew that they were lying about?
Yeah, like I said, when Mark Cerny came out and said, "Oh, this generation is going to be 1080p, 60 FPS," I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah,
and it was bullshit. That was for PS4, wasn't it? Like, yeah, that didn't end up happening. You know?
Yeah. I'm actually trying to think of a time when a suit did say something, and I'm like, they were right.
Yeah, no, they're just like, you know, on when you bought your PlayStation console, on the box it said 8K. You're like, bull fucking shit. You know, these things have barely hit 4K. You know, and now the standard is like fucking upscale 1080p. It seems.
Yeah, 4K asterisk, sometimes 720.
8K my ass.
They're just throwing everything out there to hype shit. They just sell product. That's all they have. That's all they're trying to do.
What? I don't think it's necessarily them being like, we're going to putting on their Sith cloak and be like, we're going to pull one over on the consumers. I think it's generally when they're like, yeah, this generation, everything's going to be 60 FPS. I was like, bitch, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yep, it's ignorance. All right, let's start wrapping up, man. It was a good show, though, so I'm glad you guys in the chat hung out this entire time, man. Good stuff. All right, Adam, what's going on with I Am Negan's?
Oh, we got a lot going on. We got Fear the Walking Dead mid-season finale. We covered that, so that's done. And now we're just covering Dead City, which pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Because it's in New York.
Yeah. Well, that was Carlos's thing, you know. So.
Yo, they going to Brooklyn? Yeah.
We'll see.
It's in New York, so Adam's got to love it.
We'll see. Well, I want to see if they show all the spots, because we know it's pricey. The city charges depending on what landmarks and stuff they go to. So I'm just curious to see where they go. I want to see if they go to the post office, like in the division and stuff, you know, see if they portray it that way. Because there are other groups and survivors. That's what we learned from the first episode. So if you're following it, if you're not following it, you can check us out. I Am Negan, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and of course, thecoalition.com. And we got episode 2 coming this week. So 6 episodes for Dead City. So it's not a long one.
All right, Blitz. He goes, later, people, back to Zelda and pick it up. Final Fantasy 16 tomorrow. I wanted to talk about Final Fantasy, but maybe we'll do it on the Sunday show.
Yo, I heard that shit is crazy. They're talking about, like, cursing and sex.
Yeah, yo, like, you could tell these guys, like, were in a room for, like, a month watching nothing but Game of Thrones and reading Berserk. Like, this shit is fucking... And Attack on Titan. This shit is fucking grim, you know? And just like Brett said, just like when you think the Deus Ex is going to come, no, it doesn't come. It doesn't come. Motherfuckers just die, you know? It's
like, oh shit, this is going to be a daring rescue. What rescue?
I mean, it's probably
ain't nobody rescue,
another
you know?
show, but I wonder if, because I'm not part of that community, but I wonder if the diehard fan base, are they going to be taken aback by him? Like, yo, this is not what I'm used to.
Bro,
I don't want something.
Final Fantasy's diehard fan base hasn't had an identity in a decade.
Yeah, but again, just real quick, I don't understand this whole, you know, like, yes, it's not turn-based, but every Final Fantasy game is different. That's kind of the whole point of the franchise, you know? It's not like Dragon Quest, you could set your fucking like clock to that shit. You know what you're getting. Final Fantasy, the whole point is you don't know what you're getting, you know? J Shep goes, Tony's take on Final Fantasy 16. You know, I did a hands-on review. By the way, I gotta say this, man. A lot of these so-called reviews that are out, I kind of call shenanigans on them. We all got our review codes on Friday. You told me motherfuckers turn that shit around by Monday. Okay. That's why I was like, I'm giving you guys a hands-on preview because that shit, I'm not done with it yet, you know? But yeah, the game's fucking dope. My favorite game of the year so far. It's fantastic. But you know, if you want to ask us more in depth, we'll talk about it Sunday. And
Is that coming to
yeah,
PC? Because I keep
it is.
hearing
It's
people
on
say
PC.
it is
It's on
and it
PC.
is.
Yeah, it's on PC now.
It is on PC now,
Yeah,
right?
it's
So
on
I don't
PC.
know why people saying that they can't find it.
They're stupid. That's why.
Just do.
By the way, Manny, J Shep wants you to plug the Ninja Turtles thing you talked about on Twitter.
Oh yeah, so yeah, finally after 20 years of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles '03, the show that I worked on, is getting a complete collection. It's going to be 18 discs, every single episode, including Turtles Forever, and you can get that on Amazon right now.
Isn't that fucking crazy, man? 20
You're in
years.
one of the episodes too. You're in one of the
20
episodes.
fucking years, man.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That doesn't because I mean, here's the thing. Like, I worked on that show from '03, you know, starting as an intern, and then ending in '09. So that's like what 7 years already there.
Yeah.
That was in Dumbo, right? Wasn't that office?
No,
somewhere?
No, it was on. Yeah.
Portion of it was in demo. Where
All right, because I remember you going to Brooklyn a lot.
Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty insane. And it's, to be honest, it's about time, because I mean, yeah,
It was a
20
good one.
years.
It's a good series. It was a good one.
You know, and
Was
it's,
Nickelodeon holding it back? Like, who? Was holding it back?
yeah, the thing about it, Nickelodeon is like, as soon as here's the thing, like, as soon as Nickelodeon got the rights to Turtles, which they bought it when we in 2012, or he said not 2012, excuse me, they bought it in 2009. So at that point, they pretty much just went in and started developing the 2012 Ninja Turtle show, and they sort of just put it on their system, and all the streaming. You can watch all of it on streaming and everything, but they sort of just added on there, and they released the Turtles Forever movie, like the wrong version of it, and all kinds of stuff. But I don't blame them for getting a lot of that stuff wrong, because there's none of us there to sort of tell them, hey, no, that this is what you use. Don't use that. But it is what it is.
Do you remember what episode you're in that you put yourself, you and Chris? It's in that Comic-Con.
Oh, okay. So I'm in. So there's the Chris. Yeah, the Chris. By the way, Chris is in the show. So am I. A couple of all my coworkers, because I was on the last two seasons in the Turtles Forever movie. I was designing incidental characters, so I made sure to draw all of our team, and then some honorable mentions. I put Chris in there. I put another friend of mine, a couple of other friends of mine in there. I checked my grandma's in there too. Grandma, she's in there. There's actually an episode that's kind of there's like a Comic-Con episode, and that she's actually one of the characters that like has a speaking role. She's also in. My grandmother's also in Turtles Forever 2, running away from like exploding.
I remember one of them, I saw you with a gun shooting at the turtles.
Oh yeah. So here's the fun thing. A fun thing. So I designed a character that looked like me and another one of my coworkers named Jimmy, but we initially had other characters that were officially made by the regular character designer, but we weren't coinciding. So I have there's two versions of me on that show. There's an evil like super thug version of me, and then there's like just an incidental background version of me. So yeah, that's me and my coworker Jimmy Tran. So yeah, that's a fun little secret there.
Oh, but so that's the last season. You don't know the episode, but that season, the last season 9.
I'm into my both of my characters are in Turtles Forever. One of
Turtles
them
for all the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one of my characters is in the movie, gets kicked in the head by Leonardo or something like that. Whenever there's like thug guys getting beat up, that my guy gets in there and he's got a gun. He's like this big dude.
Yeah, I remember when you told me. I looked up and I watched it. I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
there
So
you
yeah,
go.
so I'm in there. I'm in there twice, and yeah, there's a bunch of other characters. Of fun side note. This is because they obviously never had us do any sort of DVD stuff, but we always wanted to do like a commentary with the team. But fun side note, in animation we have something called a take one. A take one is the first pass of an episode from the animation studio. You look at as a team, you look at it and mark down any of the mistakes. So in Turtles Forever, there's one episode where there's one portion of it where they go into meet the 80s turtles in their own 80s universe. So we have a bunch of the characters all walking around, and the mistake was they had Chris's character walking around in the 80s world.
Uh-oh.
So it was a modern character walking around in the 80s world. I don't know if they fixed it. We marked it, but there's a guy in a gray suit, and if you see the guy in the gray suit, Indian guy in the gray suit, that's the Chris model.
You got a doppelganger.
Yep.
Well, I was alive in the 80s.
Yeah, but you weren't modern you.
No, I was a little kid me.
Little Chris, you know.
So, yeah. Also, another friend of mine in there, Jen. She's in there too. I put her in there, and I put another. It just again, I knew it was the end. So, and I was on incidental characters, so I threw as many silly characters as I could in there.
Man, we gotta get you back. We gotta put petition. I want you to keep getting on these turtles.
I mean, here's the thing. It's been 20 years. It's been 20 years of that show, and to be honest, I've still, to this day, am doing Ninja Turtle stuff. Me and Kari Randolph, who did all the licensing art for Ninja Turtles, we just finished doing a cover for Ninja Turtles versus Street Fighter. So we're still
Ninja
doing
Turtles
it.
versus Street Fighter. Is that a comic?
That's comic coming, and we did a cover for Ninja Turtles versus Power Rangers before. We did a cover for that.
Manny, is that how you met Kari through Ninja Turtles?
Yep, he was.
Nice.
He was doing. So Kari didn't officially work on the show. He worked as the licensing artist. So anytime if you bought any of the shirts or any of the posters or any of the DVD covers, those were all drawn by Kari. So that's how what happened is eventually we pulled him on as a full-time employee to work on a card game. So that's how I got to know him. So when we all got let go in 2009, they let go of the whole art team. Kari goes to me that year and he's like, "Yo, I'm thinking of getting back into comics." And there you go.
Nice.
I worked in comics. So yeah, there you go. Histories.
Good stuff. All right, people. We are. Unless anybody else has anything else to plug, I think we're good though. Anyway, make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations are always popping. Shout out to you guys. I always get all our news from the chat room. So thank you for always posting everything. Throwdown is on every podcast app. Throwdown Show towards Throwdown Show. Throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. And if you've been watching us on YouTube and enjoyed our videos, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when our premieres go live. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Adam Vale.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
And Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
All right, people, you already know. Sunday, later.
Go watch that Terminator, the Transformers movie. That ending is crazy.